Right, and it looks like we are live. I think we're live. We should be live right now, and I hope that everyone can hear me. So if you can hear me, just give me confirmation through the live chat just so I can double check. And we're going to go straight into our guests. We have, I think, 8 or 9 guests lined up for us today. Quite a few interesting topics. If you're interested in seeing what topics are up for discussion tonight, then just check the video description and you're going to see a list of topics. We've got a whole range of things that people want to discuss tonight. There's even a few blue pillars out there. The first 3 guests that I've got lined up are all members of my community. Okay, I've got confirmation that somebody can hear me as well, so I'll take it that everyone else can too. The first 3 guests that I've got lined up are members of my community. I gave them priority access just because, they're actually closer with me and they got the first opportunity to join the queue of debaters. But there's going to be hopefully a good load of debaters tonight. There's a good set of topics, as I've already said, and I've pre-screened all of them. That's what I've been doing for the last 6 hours. So I've cut through all of the crap. We haven't got any idiots coming on who are just going to say a bunch of stupid points or just be in an echo chamber. I've selected specifically for guests who have some interesting things to say, things that are controversial, things that are actually going to spark debate, because unfortunately in the manosphere today, the vast majority of these so-called debates are not actually debates, they're just echo chambers. Like, if you know who I'm referring to here, there was a 3-hour debate, so-called debate, about a year ago on a specific channel where the entire debate, where they so-called brought haters on, were actually just reiterating and just blowing the trumpet of points that the hosts of the stream were already just saying anyway. So I'm not going to be having this on this debate because I want to have an actual debate with real people to get new points of view. But anyway, we're going to invite our first guest into the stream now. So Rick, if you're watching the stream, everyone who signed up for the debate should be watching the stream to know when you're ready. Now is the time to join Rick. So whenever you're ready, Rick, just press the invite. You should be joining right away now. And I'll just send him a message on WhatsApp in case he's not... in case this isn't feeding live, there might be a little bit of latency, but he should be joining now. Rick, if you're watching, join now. I've already sent you the invitation. Okay, perfect. Right. And we're underway. So, I put Rick as the first... wait, just quickly. Rick, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, so Rick is a member of my community, and I had him as the first person lined up in the queue for this debate because this is an interesting topic that nobody, I think, has even spoken about in the manosphere. And in the voice note that you gave to me, discussing what you want to speak about, I found really interesting, and it did actually make me think. Because you want to discuss about the impact of AI on the dating market, and essentially what you believe is that AI could pretty much replace women's role in society, that when AI becomes more widespread, the technology improves, that there'll be no reason for men to date or pursue women because they can literally just get the idealistic version of what they see as a perfect girlfriend through their phone, or even if there might be a real life version if the technology progresses further enough. So is that basically an accurate depiction of what you said in the voice note?
Well, that's what I said in the voicemail, but there's more to it than that, which is why I appreciate the opportunity to expand on that just a bit.
Yeah, go for
I think
it.
I think it's going to affect men as well. So first off, just a quick introduction. My name is Rick, and I have run and owned a software company since the mid 1980s. And of course, there's been a lot of changes. And the problem is, it's always been in the software industry, the pace of change has been rapid, but it's increased 100-fold. So we're seeing changes today that we've never seen before, and faster changes. You just think about it. Chat GPT, which I'm sure most of your guests have heard of, was released less than 1 year ago, and it's already been implemented into the majority of business software out there. And companies that don't have it implemented right now, they're working on it because it has been that much of an impact on what's happened. So I think it's going to affect much more than just women. It's going to affect men. It's going to affect the whole dating and relationship arena.
Okay.
And
So if we just fixate on the dating and relationship aspects, then how do you think it's gonna influence that?
well, there was an article last week about Bumble implementing AI to weed out fake profiles. So this tells me they're already looking at it in the dating app world. Okay. But I think there's going to be three areas with the greatest impact. It's going to be the influencers, the models, spokesperson, presenters. I just put this group together and just call them the attention seekers. And then, yeah, and then porn, and the fan clubs, and the S guys and the I guys, that are out there, the loneliness epidemic, if you will. And I just call these the sad people, right? And then online dating, which I refer to as the optimists, right? So
Okay, so if we just simplify those three groups, you're saying that it's going to affect the business owners, the ones that are basically capitalizing on the dating market, OF females, and the likes of that. Then the second is, I think you was referring to sub 5 men who don't have a chance in dating, and then the third group was sounded a little bit broad. You said online dating people. How is it
yeah,
going to affect that?
well, the online dating apps and the online dating experience, and yeah, I'll get into that, and I've got a very good example of what I think is going to happen there. But you know, first off, the attention seekers are in a world of hurt. If you're a brand and you're looking for a influencer, a model, spokesperson, presenter, etc., why would you go against a perfect online persona that never messes up, that never, says the wrong thing, insults the wrong people, is always available, and will continue to grow perfectly, can speak any language, even dialects. So if I'm going to sell products in, your country in Liverpool, I want a Liverpool dialect to do that. That's a push of a button with AI. Let's just push the button. Give me a Liverpool dialect. If I want to sell in the southern United States where I live and I want someone to have a southern accent like I do, then hey, boom, done. And this is so easy to do and so attractive to these, brands that have run into lots of issues, as you're probably well aware if you follow the news, that this, I think, is going to be a big boom to them. And it's going to put a lot of models and a lot of influencers out of business because they can't keep up with this. They can't be all things to all people. If you need to advertise in India, you can have an Indian person. If you need to advertise in Asia, you've got an Asia person. Doesn't matter. This is all push of a button. And this technology, of course, will continue to get greater and greater and better and better.
Okay, and if we hone in on the dating side of things, just to give a little bit of pushback, I would say that the main argument against why people think that AI isn't going to take over the dating market is this idea of authenticity. The reason why there's, whether we're talking about guys who are actually in the dating market or just all of the simps and sub fives who are paying OF girls, whichever bucket they're in, it's this idea of authenticity. They want a real woman in the real world. Why would a guy be paying $20 a month for some AI OF girl? Yeah, she might be the most attractive woman possible, based on the technology, but it's still not going to potentially beat a 7 out of 10 OF girl, but she's actually real, right?
Okay, and I can appreciate that, but the first thing here, and let's just talk about online dating. Let's just jump to that because you don't see what a software developer sees. So here's what I see. Since online dating's a numbers game, I remember a young man by the name of Wheat who created a video talking about how it was a pain in the butt. You swipe, 1,000 times, whatever that number was, and you'll end up getting 3 dates. So I developed an online dating assistant app. It's AI driven, and It created my profile for me. It did all the about me, everything. And it's perfect. Okay. And it selects and arranges my photos to achieve the optimum selection rate. Constantly adding, changing the sequence, and yes, even editing my photos, albeit slightly. But it monitors the hit rate. It keeps getting smarter and smarter. Okay. So it knows what's working, what's not working. When I do get a hit, the app sends the first text, gets the conversation going based on the target's profile, looks at the woman that's matched with, looks at her profile. Yeah, this is a girl Rick would like, so I'm going to look at her profile and put something, comical, whatever I want, right? My personality is part of it because it learns my personality and sends the girl a text. And her photos too, looks at her photos, analyzes those. What does she like to do? What are these photos of? And it constructs the perfect opening text. Then it automatically sends that text. So I'm an in real life person. I like to meet up. I like to go on dates. So I'm not interested in a chat buddy. And that's the app's job. Don't bother me with women that don't respond, flake, or don't want to meet in person. Get me a date. Do your job. And only tell me you have a date Wednesday night at XYZ meeting place. So how does it do that? Well, it's simple. It has access to my calendar. It knows my top 5 restaurant meeting places I like. It knows the girl's nationality. If she's Asian, then I'm going to invite her to a dim sum or to, a sushi restaurant. It knows all this. And it knows my rules for texting, how my rules are outlined. And it keeps learning more and more about how I want to date and who. Now, I didn't really create that app, but I'm telling you, that's what people are going to do. They're going to create that app.
So basically operate a fully fully automated system for online dating to like arrange and
Yep.
That's fair enough, but I think that's kind of avoiding the thing that I mentioned. Like, I can understand in that corner. I think that might actually be an advantage for guys. I'm guessing it will be like monetized. There's no way that somebody's gonna sell a technology like that for free. Like, the value of that is potentially thousands of dollars if it actually works. That is, like, if because the way you just pitched it to me, if I could spend a couple $1,000 on a software so I could get literally like an automated system which guarantees me like 4 or 5 dates a month without me having to even lift a finger, it's literally just pay the money and then here are your 5 dates per month, then that sounds way worth it to me, because the amount of headaches and stuff that you avoid sounds really, really enticing. But that's still real life at the end of the day. It's using AI to enhance your chances, but it's still using AI in order to increase your chances in real life. What I think we should move on to now is, like, I don't think AI can take over the online industry, because it goes back to my point that for the guys who are paying OF girls, or even the guys who are just watching TikTok and all of the first traps on there, or just regular explicit sites, why would they want to watch AI versions, even if they might be perfect, when they could literally have a authentic person, which, even though it's all fake because it's like OF and everything like that, it's still got a infinitely higher degree of authenticity compared to AI.
Well, I see what you're saying, and you are an intelligent person. I like to think of myself as being an intelligent person, and everyone has that response is, oh, they won't get me. But here's the thing. These people are very, very good at finding the exact trigger to hit the dopamine. Okay? And, today in this world, addiction is a business plan. That's a business plan today, and it's a very popular one. Look at the tobacco companies. They got busted addicting people. They moved on to food. And, of course, you talk about the food, everybody says, well, it won't happen to me. I won't get fat. Yes, you will. You will get addicted to this stuff if you partake in it. And this is what they're after. They're after that lower person that has nothing. So if you're one of these people who has no interaction with a woman, and I can offer you the perfect woman that's going to pick every single dopamine receptor in your head, and it's going to be scientifically formulated to do exactly that. And trust me, do not underestimate these people's ability to know how to addict you. And they will go after these people and addict them and suck every dime they can out of it with this. This is going to be a huge red flag for people. Be careful. You think, I was around before the internet came on, before it existed, right? And of course, the very first thing when it popped on, some college kid was uploading nude photos. And that was one of the things we struggled with in the beginning when we were trying to get people to adopt the internet and create websites. They would all, or a lot of them would say, hey, there's nothing on the internet but porn. And this has been there since the beginning. Internet was born with porn. And this is going to continue. And this AI, though, has that ability to trick you into believing that all this is real. And you've got guys right now who are living in a gaming world in their mom's basement. They're already living in a fantasy world. This is not a big jump, okay, to a fantasy girlfriend. It's not a big jump. So I would disagree with that it's not. Yeah, it may not get guys like you and guys like me, but it's going to get a lot of guys.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think that's the main discrepancy. Like, the way I see it is that guys are going to be taken down one of three paths, and it's highly dependent on where that guy sits in the hierarchy. Because if the guy is in like the bottom 20%, like, I'm talking about the sub 5s here, then he's only got two options. It's either MTAL or it's going to be an AI girlfriend. And, for a lot of guys in that bucket, they're going to pick the AI girlfriend. There might be a small percentage of them who think, oh, I'm not doing any of that crap. Like, I know it's fake, so, what's the point? But I think they'll be far and few between. Like, if I'm honest, the way I think that things will predict is the sub 5s, the vast majority of them, they will end up choosing the path of an AI girlfriend. Very few of them will quit the dating market. But as for the, average to above average guys that actually have a chance, they have all three options. They can either leave the dating market, so go MTAL, they can choose an AI girlfriend, or they can try their luck in the dating market and get a real woman. And I think that for those men, most of them are going to choose their luck in the real dating market, because they're not going to be fooled by this AI stuff coming in, no matter how attractive the women are. Because I still think to this day, most men who are above average would rather have like a 5 or a 6 out of 10 girlfriend who's real, rather than a 9 out of 10 fake AI girlfriend.
I agree with that. Yeah, the plus 5s, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. I'd much rather have a real girlfriend than a fake one. But you never know the situation you may find yourself in. I kind of touched on this a little bit in our conversation before this. So my wife died from cancer. And for the last year of her life, she was completely invalid. Okay. So I spent an entire year taking care of her and no contact with a woman. I went from daily contact with a wonderful, beautiful female, constantly talking every day, to nothing. And that's a huge hit on someone's psyche. Okay. So you don't know what will drive people to that arena, especially as you get older. Older men, they think they have no choice. They're out of shape. They don't go to the gym. They don't do anything. There's a huge number of people out there that I think will be susceptible to this. And I don't think this is a good idea. Don't get me wrong. I don't like this. That's why I'm doing this, is so people realize this is coming. These companies are good at addicting people. If they can suck you in, there's even services out there right now that could have taken my dead wife's voice and put it into an AI model. So it would be like my dead wife was talking to me. And that's very seductive to someone that's perhaps, devastated by a loss like that. So again, these people will do anything to get your money. Just beware, guys, because they don't care. They do not care that 70% of the U.S. population's overweight. They don't care if you're addicted to this stuff. Instagram is addictive. We know that. You can't disagree that Instagram is addictive. These are addiction models, and it's going to get worse with AI. That's my whole point.
Well, it seems that the only side, the only institution on planet Earth that's kind of teaching any of this stuff or warning, because the government's not doing anything. They don't care about 70% of people being overweight, or the dating market's collapsing, or people getting addicted to Instagram and TikTok and just wasting their life away. The only people that are actually going to warn young guys about this stuff is channels like this and other channels in the manosphere. You just don't see it spoken about anywhere else. But yeah, it's definitely a lot of food for thought. I'm going to give a quick couple-minute warning to my next guest, just to make sure that he's ready. The next person on the list is Pancho Fresh. So if you're watching the stream, and I'll leave a message for him as well in the Discord waiting room, just so he knows. We'll say a couple more points on the AI stuff, and then we'll get cracking on with the next guest, which is Pancho. If you're watching the stream, then get ready for you're coming up next. But I'll leave it to you, Rick. If you've got any other closing thoughts, last things that you want to say, any other points that you wanted to talk about but you haven't got the opportunity to yet, then just bring them up, and then we'll be on our way.
Okay, good, thanks. So the last thing I would say is, I think, we talked about the dating assistant app that will help you create a good profile, right, and monitor it for you. So what I believe happens, and it always happens in these scenarios, is I have one profile now. Well, if I'm doing okay with one profile, why not 5? Why not 50? Why not 500? So I think the dating apps are going to be flooded with these AI bots, and it's going to be the battle of the bots. And it's going to cause a huge problem, credibility problem for those apps. And, they claim, well, we're going to use AI to figure out, if you're a suspect profile. Well, everybody's using AI. So AI is going to fight each other, and it's going to be, disaster for everybody.
Yeah,
so
that's so true. Like, I've actually thought about this, and I think that there's two possibilities, because you're not the first person to bring up this point to me. And somebody said that there's going to be a natural reversal in terms of people like choosing online dating, because that's basically how the dating market is right now. We've all seen the chart, and the data confirms it, that most women are choosing online dating to find a potential partner. They might be duped into thinking that it's going to result in a long-term committed relationship or marriage, because for the most part, and bearing in mind the fact that nobody has to keep their intentions open on online dating, a lot of women, they match with these top 10% guys, and they just get burned at the end of it, because the guys aren't actually interested in them long term, and those guys are able to keep their intentions hidden throughout the entire time. But women aren't seeing that point as it is, and they're continuing to choose online dating. We've all seen the chart where it shows the big spike that online dating is the main way that women are meeting their partners nowadays. And the fact that they're getting burned and, being duped into a lot of short-term flings isn't stopping them. Online dating continues to dominate. However, with the revolution of AI, I think this might actually be the tipping point which turns the trajectory of the graph back around, and online dating decreases and real life meetups increase. And the reason that could happen is because if women get sick to death of being catfished, it's kind of interesting when you think about it. The women who are getting burned on these apps and used essentially by men, that's not a big of a turn off for them to stop using the apps, but getting catfished, meeting up with a sub-5 guy who Chad fished their profile into a Chad, oh, now that's a reason for me to stop using dating apps. Like, once AI takes over and every guy is using AI to essentially turn him into a Chad, then women potentially might turn around and be like, okay, you know what, I'm not going to use these apps anymore. I was happy with, just being used for short-term fun times with Chad, but being Chad fished on a regular basis, no, that's not for me. So I'm going to stop using online dating anymore. I'm going to start using real life instead, just like the old-fashioned way.
I agree 100%, and that would be my final word. Is I think that we may come full circle. That's the way we used to do it, and now we may go back to it. I mean, that's definitely a possibility. I agree.
Well, just to say the other possibility, because I think that is one genuine possibility, and I think a lot of women will adopt that mindset, that they will walk out of online dating because they keep getting Chad fished. It's either that, or there's going to be a massive crackdown from women who have been Chad fished before, and they will demand men to send videos, jump on a video call with them, FaceTime, WhatsApp, stuff like that, to prove that a guy is legit. Because a woman's not going to meet up with a guy when they've just seen their photos, when there's a 99% chance 10 years down the line that they've just used AI to chatfish their images. 10 years down the line, they're going to be demanding that you jump on a video call with them so you can show that you're actually the man that you're presenting in your images.
I have bad news for you. ChatGPT 4 is coming out this fall, so it may be next year.
Okay, well, not necessarily 10 years down the line. I've got no idea about the acceleration of how fast this technology is progressing. Of course, it's progressing at an unbelievably fast rate. When I say 10 years, that's just a ballpark. It might be 2 years, it might be 10 years, it might be 30 years. We've got no idea, but yeah, we'll see how.
Right, and I'm just teasing with these two, of course.
Yeah, of course. Okay. Anyway, that was a really good discussion. I think we, discussed quite a lot of them in depth. There might even be some material for an upcoming video on the main channel about this, a formal video, not just on a live stream. But it's been great having you on. Definitely a great start to the stream. I'll formally invite, what was his name? Pancho? Yeah, Pancho. If you're watching the stream, we'll say goodbye to Rick. Rick, see you later.
All right, thanks for having me.
Okay, no problem.
Take care.
Thank you. And now, Pancho, join the stream now. I'll send you the invite. What the hell? Okay, join. Is there a debate room that you're able to click on and join? Why isn't your name coming up? For some reason, your name isn't coming up on the debate room. It's open anyway, so you should be able to just click on it. If you click on the debate room, then you'll be able to join. I'm not sure why you can't join. Oh, here we go. There we go. Right, you've joined. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. And let me just double check that your volume is set correctly. Just talk a second to make sure that we're speaking the same volume.
Hello. Can you hear me all right?
Yep, perfect. We're speaking the same loudness, so we're ready to jump straight into it. So just give a brief summary. I actually didn't get an opportunity to write down the notes that you sent me on WhatsApp from the community of what you wanted to discuss in today's, debate. I did read it, but it's just disappeared from my mind. So you're going to have to reinstate for both myself and the audience, what's your overarching point of what you want to discuss tonight?
That's just fine. That's a great way to start. So I would like to, I was surprised on the summary of your video, the description that you wrote something to the effect of red pill versus black pill or something like that. Because I didn't say anything like that. However, I think that's a pretty good way to begin people's expectations, because my conversation will be bringing your attention to the areas where the red pill and the black pill sort of articulate with each other, that sort of frontier. Now, I am going to try to challenge your viewpoints a little bit, but that's not to say that we disagree on most things. Because when it comes to the red pill, I think my experience was actually very similar to yours. You made a video about why you went black pill, and I had a really, really similar experience. So, but I feel that while you do a lot of good things in your channel, there are maybe a few frontiers from red pill to black pill where you could, I'd like to hear what you have to say a little bit.
Right, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, so try and be a bit more concise. What's your, main distinction?
So I have a few, so we may not get to all of them, but just that's fine. So the one main one is the fact that good looks are crucial to begin with, but after so long, the potency and effect of them tend to fade. such that one of the main, or I'll say two of the main effects that come from this, are that one of them is that warm approach works really well for any normie, and I think you've mentioned this on your channel as well. The more that a woman sees a guy, as long as he's not sub 5, he's gonna see more acceptance towards his involvement, even his advances, if time goes by to where she gets used to just how he looks. But then, as a Chad, and probably this is true for Stacy's as well, if they experience a huge advantage, a huge punch to their initiating presence, if they don't act fast, or even if they do act, after so long, whether it's in the context of a relationship or in the context of like flirtation in a social circle or somewhere like that, they're going to experience less of a punch, less of an effect to their presence. They're going to be like flooring people less, turning heads less. And so the result of this, besides the fact that what I just described, is that while I agree with your assertion, I agree wholeheartedly actually, that women make rules for normies, break rules for Chads, is what will happen is that in the context of a relationship, the Chad that previously had rules broken for him actually will see those rules begin to be implemented again later down the line.
Okay, yeah, I do remember exactly what your point was over WhatsApp, and it was actually, quite an important thing that you had to say there. It seemed that you struggled a little bit to get your words out live on the conversation, which, is understandable, but I could provide a good summary. You just reminded me of what you said over WhatsApp, and I did actually think it was quite an interesting nuance that you brought about. So for everyone listening in who found it a little bit difficult to hone in on his explanation, I'll just re-summarize to a really good way. So what he was basically saying is, according to the rule that most red and black pillars agreed on, that women break rules for chads or alphas, all of that stuff, and then they make rules for betas. So for a chad, let's assume that he gets a relationship with a woman and he got it based on breaking rules. So, he did really like crappy behavior in the early stages. He was like really flaky with texts and leading the woman on and doing all of that stuff, just not treating her right in the early stages of the dating scenario with them. But then once he gets a relationship, based on the idea that looks goes down in importance, not to zero, but the importance of looks at least decreases as the relationship progresses, and elements such as the red pill and even blue pill start to become more relevant as the relationship goes on. Based on the fact that that happens, it means that the Chad, the rules that he was forgiven for in the early stages of the relationship, end up coming back to bite him, because the woman might have tolerated them in the beginning, but she's certainly not going to tolerate them now, because in a relationship, personality and your behavior matters more. So although she might have let it slide in the early stages of dating, now that they're in a relationship, she's not going to tolerate it, and it might actually end up leading to its downfall. Is that a good summarization of what you were saying?
Yeah, pretty good. Let me turn it over to you.
Yeah, I think that's actually an interesting nuance. I was considering maybe this will be next year's April Fool's video. I already uploaded an April Fool's video this year, but it was mistimed slightly, so I did get a lot of hate for it. But maybe next year I'll make an April Fool's video and actually make it on April Fool's Day, so there's not any people that get the wrong idea about how chads, issues that you would have in dating as a chad that are unique to them, just exploring some interesting ideas such as the one that we've just explored now. And that's definitely one of them, of how it's actually sometimes advantageous to be a regular guy over a chad in dating. Like, obviously, I'll just say this, because I know that a lot of people are going to disagree with that, and I am absolutely not for 1 second saying that it's better to be a normie than a chad. But what you guys need to understand who are watching this is that there's, for anything, literally anything, there's never one side all pros and the other side all cons. No matter what topic we're discussing, you're always going to have pros for one side and cons for that side as well, and on the other side you're going to have pros and cons. It might be mismatches in terms of how many pros and cons there are for each side, but no matter what the topic is, you're going to have pros and cons. Like, even here's a fantastic example. I watched a video about the pros of autocracies, or one system states, one party states, where you have a dictatorship. You might be thinking on first impression, oh, like, that's ridiculous. You know, autocracies don't work. They're ludicrous because only a democracy will work, and otherwise it's unfair. And, you know, that's the impression that most people are going to be going into when they click on that video. But I watched the video and it did actually bring up a few good points. Not necessarily that they're enough to overthrow the other side of the argument that it's better to have a democracy, but it at least shows that no matter what point or system we're discussing, there's always going to be pros and cons for both sides. And just to give an example of that, the pros that they listed for autocracies is that you can avoid having pointless elections that take up a lot of resources, things like that. You can get more stuff done, like, you know, that you wouldn't have necessarily been able to do or implement in a 4-year term in a presidency or leadership. Like, because you have an autocracy, you can come up with like 20-year plans, stuff like that. You know, they're all pros. They might not amount to much, but they absolutely are pros. So even when it comes to the dating market, tying this back in, as a Chad, obviously there are overwhelming pros, and you'd rather be a Chad than a normie, and you'd rather be a normie than a sub 5. But even then, there are still some pros for why it's better to be a normie over a Chad. They are far and few between. Likewise, there's even more far and few between points for why it's better to be a sub 5 rather than a normie, but they still do exist. And just to give an example of that, one reason it might be better to be a sub 5 than a normie, I'm not saying anything crazy here, this is just a pro, and obviously I'd rather be a normie than a sub 5, but at least a sub 5 knows that they don't have a chance. They're not in that middle ground position where you're a normie and you're thinking, oh, my dating life might work out, it might not, I keep getting led on in the friend zone. Sub 5s don't get led on in the friend zone.
Yeah.
They don't get led on in the friend zone because women don't even want to be associated with them. They only want to have normies in the friend zone, which would arguably be even worse, rather than consistently being rejected by women just as a sub 5. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from. You know, the way that your mind works and analyzes things is really interesting to me, because you will grapple with subjects that I have been thinking about or grappling with for a while, and the way that you begin your analytics sometimes comes from an opposite direction of how I will see it. I would go in a different way of understanding this. So one of the main tenets of Black Pill, as you teach it, which I wholeheartedly agree with, is that, like you mentioned, better to be a normie than a sub 5, better to be a Chad than a normie. And the reasons for it are obvious because of that barrier to entry. And so the barrier to entry on looks, whether it's online or in person, is so real that you can't even see over that barrier unless you're past it. Nothing you do or try is going to get you over it or past it that's not looks-based if you haven't met that looks criteria. Now, I think that's a really helpful way for you to teach for any guy who's meeting that barrier, because that should be he's not going to see any effect until he actually is able to looks max to the point where he can raise a point or two or however many it's going to take before he's finally considered. But what I'm saying actually, as far as where red pill comes in, or I guess non-looks based elements, are once you've met that look satisfaction criteria. So if it takes for a guy to looks max until he's level 8 Chad, or however much he's gonna looks max until he is no longer seeing that barrier, what I'm proposing is that's when suddenly the evaluation for all of the other aspects begins to come in. And the reasoning behind that, the main thing that I'm going to say here, is that women have standards for everything, not just looks. And you have one of your things that you say that's absolutely true, is that they seem to only have standards for looks initially. And it's true that many women have an attempt to have standards for everything, and they end up not enforcing these. They end up enforcing only looks, it's all they can manage to just get with Chad. But it doesn't change that their main goal, and this goes for most women who are trying to be effective at their goal of dating, is they want to have standards across the board. The difference is that the look standards are the ones that they implement as that gatekeeping standard. So that's the one that you'll see them be most successful at, because a lot of women are willing to negotiate their standards in other areas to begin with. But it doesn't mean they don't have them. It just means that they're not enforcing them to begin with. But the entire perspective of almost all women is that they seem to have the goal of eventually having a guy who's top-notch in all of the areas. Now, this doesn't change your advice for people listening on your channel. If you're sub 5, or if you're a normie and you want to get to Chad, it makes sense that your first step would be to looks max. And so in that aspect, I don't think your advice is unhelpful. I think it's very helpful. But I find that, and you never actually outright say this, but a listener could have the expectation that once they reach Chad, the work is over and now everything's great. But what's actually true is that a lot of women have so much abundance that if you reach Chad, they will either, once they're used to you, maybe once that 6 month honeymoon period is over, potentially a year, she's used to your looks, she will begin implementing all these other standards. And at that point, if she has the abundance to choose a different Chad, she will potentially go with a different Chad instead, and try to get these other criteria met once she's satisfied her base or her first level requirement for a Chad. Or what I see very commonly, actually, if they don't have that abundance, if you're the only Chad or the best Chad she can be with, instead of leaving you or looking at other options, she'll stay with you. But actually, what I notice, and this may seem one-sided, so I'll say probably it's possible men do this too, but a lot of people in relationships will just stay in them, but they won't be satisfied. And so when that happens, then the quality of the relationship degrades, because a lot of people, or at least I'll say in my experience dating women, a lot of women are fully capable of remaining in the relationship, but just not making it any better, and a lot of times making it worse. And so that could be the situation that a Chad finds himself in. If he's reached Chad after a year of honeymoon, he's unprepared that the other standards are beginning to come back in to be implemented. And then just to go for a little bit longer, the other thing that I'll
just before you
explain...
get on to the next thing.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, like, I think you are actually onto something here. You're on the right lines, and if we just pay our attention to an extreme example for a second, like a lot of people, who try to look for quick, easy debunks of the black pill, they'll say, well, how can black pill be true when if you're a Chad, you can still get divorced? And there's been a lot of Chads who have gotten divorced over the years. They will say something like that. It's not the best logic in the world, but we'll deal with it anyway. And as a response to that, I think the point might be basically the thing that you've been describing. So, let's say that a Chad was able to get a relationship with a woman, and in the early stages, he was able to bypass all of her rules, and as women break rules for alphas and they make rules for betas, he was able to bypass that and get into this long-term relationship with the woman. But later down the line, if he's still got all of those flaws and red flags and issues in the relationship and marriage, yada yada yada, it means that once they are married, well, now he's end up going to be screwed, and he's going to have to pay 100k plus for a divorce. He loses half of his assets because the woman is now not interested in, him, because he's got all of these red flags, but they were all hidden in the beginning. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, okay. I think we've thoroughly explored that topic. So it sounded like you was about to move on to something else just before I
something
cut you off.
That's really related to that, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
On the last note to what we were just talking about, though, I will just say that a lot of guys who have been going monk mode to improve non-looks areas, I feel like I don't know how many people do that, but a lot of guys will mistakenly try to use red pill maxing to or even maybe blue pill maxing, I don't know, to try things like personality therapy, game, and certainly job and finances, and improve all of these fashion, fitness, while still confronting that same barrier of black pill looks. However, this could initially be a mistake because it's not going to get you over that first barrier, But if you're someone who spent time doing this, if you then dedicate time to that black pill level of barrier, you will find that investing in all those other areas will show its usefulness at that point. Once you're in a relationship, it'll then keep you in it till be satisfied. And that, I feel like I fall into that category personally, where all did it out of order, sort of. And not necessarily to say that there's a right order, but just that men should be aware that the looks are the first barrier, but that the other ones will come second. And in women's tendency to make looks the first barrier, certainly they're going to do this continuously. It's what they will do. But arguably, if a man can improve himself in other ways, improve his looks, this may not be their best strategy. And so that's segueing into what I'm saying, because as far as how women, just to reiterate very briefly, how they evaluate men, they really have standards for everything. They just implement looks first. So now, talk about the next element. I think that might be good if men begin thinking about women in that same way, because we have look standards that we need to have met, and that's got to be a non-negotiable. She has to be attractive. But if men don't think about other aspects that she has of her personality to be filtering for, you may end up with an attractive woman who is just completely not contributing or even bringing problems in every other non-looks based aspect. And the question is, why would you want that? Or probably you'd want to have the foresight, if you're being proactive enough to make sure that you can bring the looks in your department. Probably you also have what it takes to be proactive, to think ahead for the future. If you want an attractive woman, you probably also want her to be high quality in other areas. And a lot of guys maybe don't think about how bad it could get, the other toxic or bad personality qualities or other qualities she could bring, versus how great it could get, the full spectrum of what you might be in for and what you should maybe prepare for. And I agree that to a large degree, looks have to be satisfied. So if you're in a place where you're thinking about, how do I be attractive to somebody and find somebody who will find me attractive also, maybe if that's your sticking point that you're still trying to satisfy, that may be where you're at. But just for a peek ahead, if you can accomplish that, it will be important to see other qualities of her, because that could make or break your experience, provided that you've already found somebody who's attractive. And women are not afraid to ask for it all. And like I said, a lot of them are willing to, at first, be unsatisfied in non-looks areas and then later implement them. But the main premise that we see from women when they talk to each other and talk to guys and everyone is that they really want a guy who can offer it all. And this may not seem like it's in line with their actions because they only filter for looks first, but ultimately they do want a guy who can offer it all. They may not get it, but they certainly never stop trying. And I don't think men should be lowering their standards in that area, or we should certainly be thinking proactively, we should want it all also.
I think that most men, the difference I see between men and women, or just one more thing quickly, I'm going to let the next person in the queue know that they should get ready in the next 5 minutes. Red, if you're watching the stream right now, then get ready to join, and I'll just send them a message in the chat as well. Ready in 5. I've got two main things that I want to speak about on all of the points that you just said. I'll address both of them right now, and maybe you'll get a chance to respond if Red isn't ready yet by the end. So one of the differences I see between the different of like men's standards versus women's standards is, you're right, women do care about everything. They care about looks for the most part in the initial stage, but in terms of a long-term relationship, they genuinely are searching for Prince Charming. They just want a guy who is the full package, like the rule of 6, 6 foot tall, 6 figures, 6-pack, all of that stuff. They want the complete full package, personality included as well. In the short term, or for short-term flings, things like that, they might forego a lot of the other stuff and only just care about looks. And that's how you get these broke chads or toxic chads who, like, surprisingly have the highest body counts, just because women don't care about how trashy their personality is in those stages. They just want a guy for one night who can rock the bed in the bedroom, or even friends with benefits, something like that. But for a relationship, women are looking for Prince Charming, the chad with everything put together. if you contrast this to men, though, the short-term flings thing is quite similar. Like, a guy will go with a toxic woman, provided she's at least a 4 out of 10 for one night. He doesn't care that she's only a 4 or she's only a 5. Her looks are okay, but so long she's not a 3. There's a lot of guys who are that desperate that they're willing to dumpster dive. However, when it comes to their personality, it's literally non-existent for short term. They don't care if she speaks 2 words of English, and they don't care how many other guys she's been with, if she's been the town's bicycle, if she, has all of these issues. They're not even thinking about that. They're just thinking, I want box. So they don't care about the woman's past or her history. However, for long term, a lot of that mindset and that delusion carries forward, and I think it stems from desperation. So the trap that I see a lot of blue-pilled guys fall into is that they think, oh, this woman's like a 5, I could probably do better, but I'm desperate at the moment, I've been in a long dry spell, she's got nothing else that she brings to the table, her personality is non-existent, but they keep coming back for more, and they might have half enjoyed the first time with a woman, and their desperation gets the better of them. They come back for more, like another 5-6 times, and all of a sudden they find themselves in a relationship with this woman, and they're long-term committed with her. And if you ask that same guy on the first time he met that woman, whether it was at the bar or a date from Tinder or whatever, their only date that they're ever going to get ever, they would have said, oh no, this woman's probably not going to be any good in a long-term relationship. But they do it anyway, and they blue pill themselves. They use all of these copes and say, oh, like her past isn't actually that much of an issue because, the guys treated her like garbage beforehand. Even if they know that that's complete crap, they believe in that delusion and blue pill themselves anyway, just because they're that desperate. I've seen so many guys do that. What do you think?
I think you are absolutely right. Desperation is exactly where it comes from. I felt like I was at a stopping point with the last one, but if we have a bit more time, I don't mind going back and forth. I'm flexible. But that's the main point that my goal in this conversation was to navigate the ear of the audience, the mind of the audience, to the point where now we're actually thinking about, yes, once looks are satisfied, once that main barrier is satisfied, there are other important things. And women seem to have a main ethos with when they talk about men, when men are listening, if they're in a social circle, friends are listening, if they're talking to their boyfriend or any other male, women are not afraid to hide that they have top-notch standards. And like I mentioned earlier, they may never get it, but they will never stop pushing for it. And some of them do get it. And they will get a lot of men a long way there. Their main technique seems to be to find Chad and then try to manipulate him into being or otherwise mold him or just change him into now being high value in these other areas, offering her good personality, good wealth, good everything else.
That's
Arguably,
so true.
This is not the best tactic. I mean, it's possible actually that she could find a guy who maybe still has some looks maxing to do and help him in that area, and that's a very rare technique that you see from women.
It's mainly men who do that, actually. Like,
yes, exactly.
I just want to speak a little bit. Sorry to interrupt you.
Go for it. No, go for it.
I call it like the molding cope. Well, that's not what I call it. I just thought of that name on the fly. But I see this from both sides. The molding cope is where both men and women get into a relationship with a person they think who has potential. And the most common way that men do this is that they start dating the chubster. She might be packing a few extra pounds, and they think, oh yeah, it's not really the kind of woman that I want to be seen in public with. She's not great, but beneath all of that stuff, there's potential. I see potential there. If I can get her in the gym, get her in good shape, I'm going to be walking around with near Stacy. So if I put in that investment, then it will work. And as for women, they try to do the molding stuff as well, but they do it with some toxic Chad. So that's if you guys want to know why there's these women out there who are in a friends with benefits situation with a Chad, and they know deep down that he's no good for them long term, but they still go through with that arrangement anyway because they're desperate for a long-term relationship. It's because they believe that they're going to come along and mold the Chad into settling down and behaving himself and want to be in a long-term relationship or eventual marriage. But the molding cope is, well, it's a cope, because it doesn't work. And the reason for that is because the best prediction of future behaviour is past behaviour. People don't want to be changed. No one wants to be changed, and people hate if you try to change them. So if anyone tries to do that, like whether it's physical or personality based, they aren't going to change it, and more often than not they go back to their old ways anyway, or they just don't change at all. Like if you've ever had an experience with someone who's overweight, man or woman for that matter, and if you try to tell them that they need to get in better shape, and the reason that they're getting rejected at the moment is because of their weight, I guarantee you they're not going to be happy that you've made those comments. And if you start trying to give them advice, like you're genuinely being the person to try to help them, and if you try to give them advice, say to start eating better or getting in better shape, they're going to start being really bitter and resentful of you, and aren't happy with the remarks you're making, because as I've said, people hate change. People don't like to be changed. They like to stick with the way that they are. It's kind of a bit of Dunning-Kruger effect as well. Everyone likes to think that they've got it all figured out, but most people haven't, and they just want to stay in their lives the way they are, even if it's suboptimal.
Nice. Just in terms of coming up with short titles, like punchy titles for things, the very first thing I talked about, I'd like to call it "The Work Doesn't End When You Reach Chad." Or the work doesn't end with Chad. So that's out there. The work doesn't end with Chad, guys, or once you reach Chad. In response to what you just said, what I will point out is that with young people, yes, I agree with what you said. A little bit older, people begin to realize that they themselves are imperfect. A mature person is willing to change for their partner. I'm not saying it'll be easy, but I'm saying I've done it myself, and I've been in it, and I've seen it from my partner. I've seen it in relationships. Older people who are mature, not the ones that continue to struggle, but the mature ones, actually are willing to change. However, when it comes to changing, I will point out that if you're trying to mold your partner, to an extent, it could be effective. But whether you're a man or a woman trying to mold your partner, if you try to change their personality, this is actually the most concrete thing that is impossible to change, because the mind has sort of layers like sediments, and the literal neurons and the synapses that have been cemented, especially by the time you reach maybe late 20s, are not about to change very easily. They don't even know how to behave differently. So the technique that women use to try to mold, let's say, a toxic Chad into a different personality is actually a losing strategy just by definition. Because while it may seem that looks are more concrete or a job is more concrete, actually personality is the most concrete thing, because they literally don't know how to behave otherwise. Their brains are now set in, the neurons that can potentially, the new synapses are dying off as you get older. And so this goes true for men to women as well. I just want to float that out there, that just objectively, anyone who tries to change their partner's personality, more so is going to be met with the hard, concrete resistance that this doesn't change. However, if you're going to try to mold your partner a little bit, they have to be willing to cooperate, but anything besides looks is always going to be more malleable. I mean,
less malleable.
Anything besides personality is always going to be more malleable than personality, which is actually concrete.
Okay.
And the perception that personality is unchangeable is actually completely false and wrong.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, maybe we'll leave it with that.
Just to stop you, you sounded like you was a bit like repeating yourself at the end there. I think you're absolutely right. And one of the, just an example, just give me 2 seconds once more, so I can tell Red one more reminder that you should be ready in a couple minutes. We'll be wrapping it up here, just because I'm a bit conscious of our next guest. So thanks for coming on the stream. If you're alright to wait, I'll just kick you from it. And then we'll get Red on in a second. And in the meantime, I'll just give my closing thoughts about what you said there. And I'll also explore on the monk mode thing that you talked about briefly, which you had a chance to talk about, but I didn't. So I'll explore to that as Red is joining the debate room. So Red, if you're alright to join now, and in that meantime, I'll just talk about what Pancho had to say at the end there, which personality is way less moldable than people like to think. And the best example I can think of for that is if you look at people's political standings, almost nobody wants to change, and I've never seen anyone change their political beliefs ever since they've first adopted them. There's even a scientific term for this called anchoring, that people almost always stick to the first point of view that they hear, and then they just look for more confirmation bias to reinforce those beliefs that they already have. So if your parents are left-wing and then they teach you left-wing beliefs, you're way more likely to be left-wing when you're older. And I've not seen any exceptions for that. The people that I've known 5 years ago who are right-wing or left-wing, then they haven't changed their political opinions. Okay, Red, welcome to the stream. Can you hear me?
Okay?
Yeah, I can. Yeah. We'll get started in just a few minutes. I just wanted to say one more point about monk mode, which I didn't get an opportunity in the last guest that we had. So if you just bear with me for that amount of time, you got a couple minutes now just to collect yourself and the thoughts, the stuff that you want to be talking about on the stream. If you've got any material already, you can prepare that, but you're not going to be saying anything for the next couple minutes. So just to give my thoughts on monk mode quickly, there are absolutely a lot of people who do it. Guys around my age I've seen doing monk mode, and they might not even know that they're doing monk mode. And when people do monk mode, I'm mainly seeing them doing it in the gym department and sometimes money as well. And there's two types of people who do monk mode, because I do think monk mode is good for the most part if you're the right person for it. Like, if you do monk mode with a focus on looks maxing, not gym cope maxing, where you're like a sub 5 guy and you think going to the gym is gonna like change your dating life, which is the majority of guys I see doing monk mode. Is they're a sub 5 guy, they've been rejected all their life, and now they're going to the gym as a cope, and they can bench like 130 kg, and they think that that's going to change their life. Like, I actually know at least 3 powerlifters who are sub 5s, and they've been going for the gym for the last 3-4 years, just because they think that that's going to help them. And I think that the way that they're doing monk mode is pure cope maxing. So they are going to the gym, improving their squat, bench, deadlift, all of this stuff, and the reason they do it, and I think there is a bias for sub 5s who are in powerlifting, is because they got rejected by women in high school, and then they think, oh, screw this, I'm going to go to the gym in order to prove these women wrong. And then they sink their teeth into gym maxing and powerlifting maxing, but it's not going to change their dating life, unfortunately, because they are a sub 5, and going crazy hard on the gym maxing isn't going to help. And they actually shoot through the what's the term I'm looking for, like ceiling of diminishing returns, where they go to the gym so much that it's actually like too much. Like, most of these powerlifters are at least 20% body fat, and they have an insane amount of muscle as well. Like, they're proper powerhouses, but the way that they are going to the gym is definitely not for aesthetics purposes. And personally, I believe the only reason, well, the main reason that guys should go to the gym is for aesthetic purposes. It's looks maxing purposes. If you're going to the gym for numbers, like guys who say, oh, I just go to the gym for numbers, I go to the gym to get a new PR, like, or mental health, any of this stuff, not to say that they're not reasons, but they're secondary reasons, and a lot of them reasons are cope reasons. The main reason that guys should be going to the gym is for aesthetic maxing. So you're getting a good amount of muscle, maybe you go for a bulking phase and increase your body fat percentage in the meantime, but then once you get to the like optimal level of muscle, that's when you think, right, now I'm going to go on a cut and I'm going to get chiseled, I'm going to get to 10% body fat, and now I'm going to be the optimal aesthetic for what women view. Like, you pretty much want to have the target as Ziz. And another example is men's maxing. He's done it exactly right. If you guys haven't heard of men's maxing, he's reasonably well known in this space, and the way that he's gym max is pretty much as exactly you want to do it as a guy. He went on a massive bulk, his body fat percentage was high in the meantime, but once he went on the cut, like he genuinely had the physique of as close as you're gonna get to Ziz. based on your genetic potential. That's the reason you want to be going to the gym. Don't do any of this powerlifting cope stuff. It's not going to improve your dating life. And in fact, if you do it too much, it's actually going to make your dating life worse. So that's what I have to say about like these guys who do monk mode. For the most part, there is a lot of cope, but that's not to say if you do it right, it does yield decent returns. Anyway, bit of a long-winded monologue on that. But now let's give a proper introduction to our next guest. We have Red, and I believe you are our third guest from the community. You had the priority access, so welcome to the live stream.
Thank you so much for having me. My topic for today is going to be about game. I think a lot of guys sleep on this, and sleep on it because it's a bit of a misnomer, I think. So when we think of game, a lot of people think of like cheesy one-liners and cold approach and just being a player. But I think it's actually so much more than that. It's really just a framework for conversation and about conversational tools and having those conversational tools in your tool belt. So where it comes in useful and where you kind of undervalue it on your channel, I believe, is let's say if you think of dating as a funnel. So you've got like, let's say online dating, the first filter in the funnel is going to be that getting that match, getting that swipe. That's all looks based. And that's where a lot of guys focus on looks maxing. And there isn't going to be any more if you don't get past that first filter. But if you do get past that first filter, there's going to be subsequent ones. So that's where the funnel narrows, right? And where those subsequent filters, that's where game really kicks in. That's all that stuff involves conversation. So going to the opening text, having some sort of conversation to get the number to escalate. That's where game is going to give you a framework on how to be more successful in those stages.
Yeah, I 100% agree with this. I'm not sure what material from my channel you have been watching to think that I don't think the same, but I absolutely agree for the most part with what you just said. Dating, at the end of the day, is all mathematical, and it's just one big funnel, and the funnel can be split up into each layers, and of each of the respective layers, different skill sets and attributes are going to be more important for, to varying degrees on each of them. Like, so the first funnel, or the first layer, of course, which 90% of guys just don't make the cut, or they aren't making it to a good enough degree, is looks, and that is where they get weeded out. That's why only the top 10% of guys are getting any matches on Tinder. And if I remember the data off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure the top 1% of guys on Tinder are getting more than the bottom 90% combined. I'm pretty sure that's accurate. It might even be worse than that, but it just goes to show how important that first layer is. And if you're in the bottom 90% of men, looks is the main reason that you're getting weeded out at the moment. But as for the second layer, game, that's where it comes more into importance and at the forefront. And to give an example of that, in my Tinder experiment video, I was actually so surprised in my Tinder experiment video, the amount of guys who were in the comments giving hate, saying, "Oh, your game was so bad, bro. You should have done well better. Your game was terrible, bro." All of this stuff. Well, look at the data. I got 100 matches and 9 dates from that. So it's almost a 10% conversion rate. And I've had a little research about, the numbers about what sort of conversion rate you'd expect in this community. And 10% is considered a good rate of return in terms of matches to dates. I'm not sure what your experience is, Red. I'm sure that you've used a lot of online dating yourself as well. But I asked Alex Playing with Fire as well, and he said that 10% is a decent rate of return. If it's less than 5%, then your game needs work, and you absolutely have some women slipping out of your fingers through that funnel, through that layer. And if you can increase your game, you're going to be able to get your conversion rate up to 10%, which is a lot more optimal.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not so much disagreeing with any of your content. It's more like an emphasis. Maybe this particular point was, in my opinion at least, not emphasized to the level of importance that it plays in those later stages. And in that experiment, maybe some people had said that you didn't have good game, but clearly you had adequate enough game, and you weren't making fatal mistakes. Let's put it that. I think that's where a lot of guys sleep on it. Is they do the looks maxing, but then they have no idea about game, and they hurt themselves in those later stages.
I'm not 100% sure on that. I think there's way more guys who haven't looks maxed and, jester max. So there's way more guys who are blue pilled and they think that looks don't matter, so they don't focus on looks maxing and they instead focus on jester maxing. They are in the friend zone with 5 different girls. They're messaging them for 3 hours a day, doing all of this stuff. And, technically that is game if, we look at it in a black and white sense. They are practicing that, but looks maxing, they're just not doing. And it would be a way better return on investment if they stopped jester maxing for all of these women and instead looks maxed first and then learnt game properly second.
Yeah, there's definitely a priority to it. But if they're in the friend zone, they're sending a ton of messages. That's also bad game, because game teaches you how to escalate and how to stop wasting your time on stuff that isn't going to escalate.
Yeah, I actually think a massive overlooked part of game is being efficient. There's a lot of people I've seen who, when they use game, they're not doing it efficiently. So even on paper, what they're doing might be correct, but then they would speak to the same woman for way too long of a period of time. And yes, technically they're doing a lot of the right steps. They're being funny, the girl's engaged, but they're not cutting their losses when they should. And they're not escalating quick enough if the opportunity arises and the woman's giving them choosing signals. I think that game is overcomplicated for the most part, and if a girl's giving you choosing signals, then you might as well go in for the kill. If she's not, then cut your losses, don't waste any more time barking up the wrong tree.
Yeah, but just having that awareness of when the choosing signals are coming, when you can close, when you can't close, when to cut your losses. I think that's kind of something that game teaches you. Just valuable to know those things.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that's a quite an overlooked part of game. When what I'm more alluding to is, okay, fair enough. Yeah, game does address that, but it's not addressed anywhere near as much in the videos that I've seen talking about it. But it should, in my opinion, be number one on the priority list. It should be, right, here's what you do if a woman's giving you choosing signals. Here's what you do if a woman's not giving you choosing signals. And to give the simplified version, I don't see any videos on this. I would say your best bet is if the woman's giving you choosing signals, then that's when you escalate immediately and go in for the kill. But if she's not, then I would recommend, if there's no risk of poisoning the well, just go in for the hard close as soon as you possibly can. Even though it's going to be so uncalibrated, just do it anyway, just to, in the off chance that she is interested but just doesn't display choosing signals. But if there is a risk of poisoning the well, then you should just leave the interaction with as minimal damage possible. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah, it's going to feel really uncomfortable, I think, for a lot of guys to go for the hard close if a woman is giving no choosing signals. And that's probably going to happen the majority of times that you are running game, because the vast, literally 90% plus times you're going to get rejected by women if we're talking about cold approach or online dating, whatever. But what investment does it take to send a quick copy-paste message on a dating app and go for the hard close, even though you're in no position to? If you do that 100 times with 100 women who are giving you no choosing signals, you might get one date from that if you go for the hard close when it wasn't called for. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so you're talking about maybe downgrade your game, but play the numbers game to get more results out of the funnel, more absolute numbers at the end of the funnel.
Exactly.
Versus higher conversion rate.
Yeah, exactly. I don't believe in this idea of warming up women, or because that's basically jester maxing. These guys who, think that there's trying to optimize too much for conversion rate. They're completely overlooking the time it takes to run game. And they would do this thing called warming up a woman. They would, like, you know, think, oh, now is not the time to send the hard close message. I'm going to warm her up a little bit more. I'm going to keep investing my time and energy into getting her into a position where she's warm. And once she's warm, then I'm going to go for the close, and it's going to be great. Well, okay, you can do that. You still only got a 5% chance of her actually agreeing to going out with you once you've done all of that warming up, aka jester maxing. But you've just wasted another like week or 2 weeks of jester maxing to, you know, get to that position. You would have been way better off just cutting your losses early or going for the hard close and moving on to the next one. The next opportunity you have if that woman says no, which chances are she will because she didn't give you any choosing signals.
Yeah, I think you're describing a situation where you have such weak game that it's almost just better for you to risk the hard close and not spend a lot of time fumbling around with your weak game. Basically, you're setting yourself up for failure because of your weak game. Whereas if you had strong game, you could also be efficient, and every message you send, every message is pointing towards a hard close or some sort of close, some sort of good escalation. And one more point I'll say about this example is, like, even if you get success with a hard close, it might not be like a really good solid close, and you might have flakiness in the next stage. So that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, but either way, like, you know, dealing with the logistics after getting a woman to agree to a hard close, despite the fact she's given no choosing signals, is going to be reasonably low investment anyway. Because, you know, let's say that you go for a hard close on a woman who has given no choosing signals. In the miracle, she says yes. Okay, now all the hoops you got to jump through is confirm the date on the day, and boom, that literally takes 2 messages. Like, one confirmation the day before, one confirmation on the day. If she doesn't show up and there's a strong chance she'll flake, it doesn't necessarily make a difference. You've already, like, saved yourself from not having to jester max. And the reason I say this is because when I was doing the Tinder experiment on my channel, you know, as I was, like, running through all of the women, not literally as in running through all of the messages for the women, what I noticed is that I could tell so quickly from, like, the first message, or at max the first 3 messages that the woman sent, what her level of investment was, if there was actually a strong chance she would be interested or not. And for any woman that was like a 2 out of 10 choosing signals, and the average woman on a dating app is 2 out of 10 choosing signals. Like, they're just non-existent, basically, unless a woman really finds you attractive and gives you Chad treatment. Like, it was just so stressful and time-consuming if I had a woman send a message who gave no choosing signals, and I would be sitting there for like a couple minutes being like, oh, I've got to think of a funny response now to try and liven things up a little bit. And I did that a few times, and it got to the point where I was like, oh, this is getting so exhausting. Screw this. I'm just going to go for the hard close and all of these non-invested women, because it just became way too tedious to try and think of something funny for a low investment woman to try and warm things up. It's just not worth the extra time and investment. The juice isn't worth the squeeze.
Yeah, I think you're maybe misunderstanding, or maybe like you're looking at a very specific thing, like you're saying warming up, making something funny, you know, getting that sort of connection. But there's other techniques that you can use in game, like any sort of push-pull techniques. It doesn't have to be exactly like opening with a joke. It could be opening with what they call like a S-test.
I'm not talking
some
about
sort of challenge.
I'm not talking about opening. I'm talking about, you know, halfway through the conversation. So let's say that there's been 5 messages from me, 5 messages from the girl, and she says something about, I don't know, that she went shopping today, and she bought some bananas or oranges, whatever, I don't care. You know, if she says that and she's been like really flaky on the previous messages, it's been like 8-hour gaps between them. If I see a message like that, I'm just like, oh, I can't be bothered to think of something funny or gamey, to try and spice things up here. I'd rather just go for the hard close. Say something like, oh, we should have went like out on a date afterwards. Just some whatever crap, whatever stuff you do, you're throwing shit at the wall. But if you just do that with 100 zero choosing signals girls, at least one time you might get a date out of it. And I'm pretty sure that happened to me in the Tinder experiment. There was this one girl that gave like zero investment, and I think I even spoke about it in the video. I said that there was one girl that was extremely flaky. She was consistently leaving 8-hour gaps between messages, but I went for the hard close, and miraculously she said yes. She was like one out of the 100 other girls that I matched with, and they were just all flaky, and when I went for the hard close, then they just said no. But this was the exception to that rule, and miraculously she said yes in that instance. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get you. I feel like maybe you would have it'd be a little smoother for you if you tried some sort of technique where every message you send is kind of leading more towards it's escalating little by little. So like with a banana, I don't know, like maybe you mention something like, oh, you're eating a banana, maybe you'd enjoy a fruit sundae with a handsome gentleman, something like that. It doesn't.
Yeah, but that is
exactly
what I
say-
see as a hard close. That is more. That is. Yeah. It's not a hard close, but that is like reasonably a hard close, because it's alluding straight to the point of what you want out of this.
Yeah, it's alluding, and it's escalation, but it's not like it's easier for her to say yes to this rather than to say yes to, like you say, meet me at this Sunday place 2 p.m. tomorrow, right?
Oh yeah, no, I'm not talking
harder.
about hard close like that extreme, but something that you described is what I'm talking about. I think we just have a different definition of what a hard close means. When I say a hard close, I pretty much mean a very strong allusion to the idea that you want to meet up with her.
Yeah, I think all your messages on online dating should be going to that strong illusion that you want to meet up. Otherwise, like, what are you doing? You want to escalate, right? You don't want to just chat with her. That's kind of a waste of time.
Yeah, well, there is one exception to that. So for some women, maybe this was a fault on my part, but it did work out. The data shows that it worked for me. Like, I looked at the girls' photos and I could see that they were, reasonably high purity, and based on like the bio and the things that I could read from their profile, going for an extremely high level of escalation in the first few messages wouldn't have worked, because also when you bear in mind the fact that 99% of guys are unbelievably extreme in terms of their closing on online dating apps. Like, I've spoken with women about this, and they say, oh yeah, the vast majority of guys within the first message, it's just some reference to meeting up in a sexual manner. Like, it's like, just get all of your clothes off. So if I do the opposite to what all of those guys are doing, what my point is, I know I'm waffling on a little bit, is for women that you can tell are quite high purity on dating apps, you might even need to run a little bit of blue pill game just to give that proof that you're not one of these other guys who she's got in her inbox, the other 100 guys in her inbox who in the first message they sent to her was like, oh, get all of your clothes off, love. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I agree. And to kind of make this point, let me go back a little bit into like what I think the value of game fundamentally is. I think game is just about sending signals that you're of high status, like you're higher status socially than other people. And I think that's really what women care about genetically. Like, they're genetically programmed to care about not like how much absolute resources you have, but how much status you have. And like all those resources, like you have a nice car, a yacht, whatever, big paying job, those are all signals of status. Like, status is the thing that matters here at the end of the day. And people who have that status, they tend to present a certain way and to act a certain way in conversation. Like, they won't be needy, they won't like put her on a pedestal, they'll act more cavalier, like, oh yeah, I don't really care about you that much. Like, if you go away, I can get another one easily.
Yeah.
So acting.
Well, sorry to interrupt. You had one more point to make.
Yeah, so that's where the value is, like just to send signals that you're higher status. And that can help even in this case where you said it's like a high purity woman. You can send those high status signals and go for a close without being like trashy.
Yeah, well, to tell you my experience of what women have told me about guys on online dating apps, it's almost as if there's two extremes and no in between. And if we take the middle ground, then that's probably the optimal level of game that you want to go by. And the two extremes are, number one, the completely blue-pilled, pie-in-the-sky simps who Gestamax to an extreme degree, and they're asking like, hey, how are you? Oh, how's your day going? Oh, how did you wake up today? You know, just all of this crap, like, you know, good night, you know, I hope you get a good sleep. These are like the blue-pilled guys on dating apps that women experience. And then at the other end of the extreme, and I would actually say that there's more guys that fall into this bucket. Maybe there is a selection bias in terms of what women are telling me, because they're not going to tell about the blue-pilled simps as much. But there are, don't underestimate the number of guys who are hardcore, extreme, going in for the clothes straight away, get all your clothes off, love, you know, those bucket of guys. So those are the two extremes. And what women ideally want, I would say, is somebody in the middle, somebody who can escalate at a reasonable pace. It's not 0 to 100, but it's not 0 to 0.1 to 0.2 to 0.3, which would take an eternity and a half in order to get to the point where the man's comfortable enough to ask the woman out on a date. Like, it should be 3 days max it takes for you to make the full close on a woman where you can get her out on a date. You're not doing it within the first 5 minutes of matching, but you're also not doing it after 6 years of warming her up. You got to find a middle ground.
And I think that middle ground is exactly where a good game is. Like, the two extremes you're pointing out, like, those are two extremes of bad game.
Yeah, but that's the majority of men.
Any...
That's what I'm pointing out. The majority of men fall into one of those two buckets on online dating.
Yeah, that's why men need to learn and understand games so they can get out of those two extremes. Like, these are two extremes of bad game.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm just going to give a couple minutes of warning to our next person on the list. I've spoken quite a lot, so if you want to explain your point, just while I'm letting Miriam know, this is actually a woman that we've got on for the next debate who's scheduled. Miriam, if you're watching the stream now, then get ready in 2 minutes. But Red, make your next point.
Yeah, I guess to close out, I wanted to cover like one example. If you have like a extremely high status player, like a rich professional sports player, that if he's inviting a girl, like let's say on a yacht, the way he makes that invitation, like she already has some signals of status. Like, he's rich, he has a yacht, he's a sports player. Those are all signals of status. But if he makes the invitation in like a very needy sort of way, like he says, oh, you're the most beautiful girl I've ever seen, it would be so lovely to have you on this evening, you're so great, I'd be heartbroken if you'd like decline, like this sort of needy, low status sort of way, that's going to send mixed signals. She'll probably still accept because she's got all those other strong indicators of high status, versus if you think about like what he would naturally do, he'd make an invitation like a very offhand way, like, you know, come along if you want, I don't really care, you know, I'll get someone else if you decline. That lines up with high status signals that he's already setting. So if you have good game, it's not important to have all those other indicators of high status, because like, even if you have a house, unless you keep talking about like this nice house that you have, a girl's never going to know about it, right? So as long as you're not spending low status signals, and you're practicing good game where you're always indicating like, yeah, I don't really care, I can find someone else. That's where that like abundance mindset crap comes in, I guess. But if you're doing that, that's where you're going to get the most bang for your buck, I think.
Yeah, okay. Sounds good. Good point to finish up on. You've definitely been a high value contributor to the stream. That's going to be it from you. So just say goodbye. And Miriam, get ready to join the stream. We're going to be having you on in a second. So as soon as you get the opportunity, join the debate room. But Red, thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Okay, no problem. Miriam, join the stream now. There should be a debate room channel on the left-hand side of the screen if you're on a computer that will allow you to join. But if not, I'll send you a personal invite. Oh, the name's not coming up again. I'm not sure why. Is anyone like, know how to use Discord correctly? Because I've got no idea why the name's not coming up. It should be, but it's not. I'll just send a message in the waiting room. She says that she's ready, so she should be. Oh, here we go. She's in now. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah. And you?
Yep, can hear you loud and clear. Just speak one more time, just so I can test if we're at the same volume level.
Hello. Hi.
Yeah, it seems that we are. Okay. So I remember the topic that you wanted to talk about in the topic that we discussed in the screening consultation. You are probably going to have the hardest time trying to debate this because this is a topic that the vast majority of guys in this community, and I know watching this stream, are probably going to disagree with you. So you came up with a topic that you don't think a woman's body count matters that much, and most guys should forgive women for having a high body count. They should see more than what meets the eye. There are potentially some legitimate reasons for why a woman has a high body count, and guys should look into that, potentially date a woman at least past, the first few dates to see what that reason or those reasons are, and then from there, if a guy thinks that they are legitimate, then he might be inclined to forgive her and go into a long-term relationship with her. Is that the gist of what you was saying in the pre-screening consultation?
Yes, it was basically that. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Do you want to elaborate a bit more on the nuance then for that? What's the, main points like backing? Do you have any studies or reasons for, why you believe what you do?
Okay, so first I wanted to say sorry for the bad English because it's my third language. So sorry if some of you don't understand or something. So I have several reasons why I think the body count that is not that important. I mean, I don't say that you guys shouldn't take it into account, but I mean, it doesn't define what a person is as a whole. So I wanted to say that some people have this high body counts because they try to fit in, or they have this the abusive past, which leads to the symptom that some symptom of the abusive past is to seek value, that other people see value in you. So you're seeking this, and it doesn't define you because that's just a symptom. And other neurological disorders such as BPD or post-traumatic disorder. These disorders have the high body count or the promiscuity as a symptom. So this doesn't always mean that the person is out there seeking the pleasure. Some people are just wanting to feel loved, but not as not in a lust. They don't seek the lust. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand what you mean. Your overarching point is that there's going to be a small minority of women out there who have high body counts because it just happened like by accident or circumstances that they've got these certain like disorders or traumatic past that has compelled them to do all of that. Well, what my argument in response is, irrespective of whether these reasons are legitimate or not, does it change the overarching reason for why guys don't want to date women with high body counts? Because guys in this side of YouTube and in this space, we're not just targeting women with high body counts and being like, oh, we're not going to date you because we're so bitter and jealous that other guys have been able to see your body and it's not just me, one guy. No, that's not the main reason. It is, partially a reason, but that's mainly an emotional reason for why guys don't want to date those women. The main reasons I would argue that guys don't want to date women with high body counts is because it has a statistical and proven relationship where if you date a woman long term, whether it's a marriage or long term relationship with a high body count, it's going to reduce the quality of that relationship. It's going to increase the chance of divorce, and it comes with all of these problems. So for those reasons alone, whether she's got a legitimate excuse or not for why her body count is so high, it doesn't change the fact that because her body count is higher, she now has that correlation with being a high chance of divorce woman, which most guys just don't want to be in that situation. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I understand, but I think that maybe this is a fact, that what you just addressed, it's a fact, but maybe we should give other people, this woman, the opportunity to change, and in this way more guys would have a good partner and less men would be lonely or alone. In this way, if we give people the chance to take a different path, and I think this would improve ourselves as a society. But
I don't think that's necessarily true. There's not guys who are rejecting women with high body counts. Like, if you're in the bottom 90% of men, chances are these women with high body counts, they've had so much experience with the top 10% of guys, they're not even going to be looking at the bottom 90% of the guys anyway. They're going to be thinking, oh, he's below my level. The only exception to that is maybe once the woman's SMV has dropped because she's above 30, now she turns to the beta. But most beta guys accept those women anyway, because most guys are blue-pilled and they don't care if a woman has been with 50 different chads all throughout her teens and 20s. The guy is still there to pick up the pieces later on down the line. That's one situation. But as for the women whose high body counts are high when they're young, they're mostly rejecting and seeing the bottom 90% of men as invisible. Like, guys aren't rejecting women in their 20s with high body counts because they're the ones being rejected.
Yes, I understand, but I think this point of yours focuses on the women that are looking for lust, and that's why their body count increased in the first place, but not for the women who just wanted to know themselves, or all the reasons that I said, the abusive past, also maybe they were just minors trying to fit in. I think that
I just don't think it's cohesive. Like, I've never bought the argument that people say, "Oh, my past was abusive, therefore I'm gonna go with like 50 different top 10% guys for short-term fun." Well, how does that make sense? They're just not correlated logically. Emotionally, it might be a different story, but if a woman does do that decision and goes with those 50 different guys on a casual basis, it shows that she's making those decisions on a emotional system, which isn't a value that I think is good to have. Like, it'd be like if I don't know, like, got robbed, and then I said, okay, now I've got robbed, I'm going to download Minecraft on my computer. Like, the two points just don't relate to each other. If a woman's had an abusive past, there's no logical conclusion to be made from that to be like, okay, now I'm going to go with chads for like 50 short-term fun times. There might be some emotional decision making going on which is pushing her that way, but I don't think that women who make significant decisions about their lifestyle and this is a very significant decision about her lifestyle. Short-term fun times with guys. If a woman's making those decisions based on emotions, that opens a whole new can of worms, because cheating is mostly an emotional decision, and that's why women with high body counts are way more likely to cheat, because they're making decisions about sex based on emotions. And if they're in a relationship with a guy and they think that they're forgiven, chances are they're going to make an emotional decision one time and cheat on their partner because of that past. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, but I think that we're not talking about the same woman, because I'm talking about a woman who has done these decisions, but then she has healed. So she knows what she did was wrong. Now she's not doing it, and she regrets her past. So, and I don't think that she's doing again these decisions.
But all
So,
women with high body counts say that. Like, that's all women who are looking for a beta. Like, so let's at least give some credit here. That's not to say there might be a percentage of women who are genuinely, like, understanding that what they've done, like, has probably fried their dopamine and ruined their pair bonding, and they are genuinely trying to make amends now. And in the future, they are 100% going to be committed to the next guy that they come across. Let's assume that there is a percentage of those women. But either way, how are you going to be able to distinguish between those women and the women that just lie through their teeth? Because let's be realistic for a second. For a woman who, has a really high body count and now she's looking for a beta provider, she's hardly going to be saying to guys as she meets up with them for a first date, I'm out, like, probably gonna cheat a bunch more times. I'm probably gonna, go with guys if I feel like it, make those emotional decisions. That's not gonna happen. And you see this all of the time on dating apps. You have women's profiles who are in their 30s saying, no hookups. Like, to me, all that implies is that they used to do lots of hookups, but they don't do it anymore. That's, at least to me, what it says.
Yeah, could be true. I think that, it might be true, but not always like that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's not always, because my point is that you're not going to be able to distinguish between the ones that, truly are sincere and sorry for what they've done in their past and are willing to make amends, and the other ones who are no different. Do you know what I'm saying? You can't distinguish between those two buckets, because what they're advertising is the same.
Okay, so if you're a man and you want to distinguish between the two types of women with high body counts that we're talking about, I think that you won't notice if a woman has a high body count if she has healed, because she would have the attitude of a pure woman. You wouldn't even notice it. If she has really healed, you wouldn't notice. I think so.
No, but what I'm saying is that the ones that haven't healed will also be saying the same stuff. You wouldn't notice on those women either, because they're going to be saying things like, oh, the past is in the past, you should accept me for who I am. That's what these women say with high body counts, and because they know that they know deep down that it's having a negative impact on their dating life, but they know that they can't go round advertising like a billboard that that's what their past was like. Or if they are going to be honest about their past, chances are they're going to try to suppress it and say that it's not actually that bad. So all the women, whether they've healed or not, are going to be advertising that they are healed. Do you know what I'm saying? As in, the women that are healed are going to say that they're healed, and the women that are not healed are also going to say that they're healed.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But I think that with the actions, if someone has healed, because if someone really thinks that hooking up is a good habit, they wouldn't lie about that. Someone would imagine that you point out that that habit is bad. A woman would say that hasn't healed or that is already agreeing with this habit. She would say, Like, yeah, it doesn't matter because I was single, for example. But someone who has healed, she would say, yeah, you're right. I'm glad that I left this bad habit. You get me?
No, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. And in fact, I don't even buy the argument about healed. I don't think there's anything such, that a woman can be healed, because like it does alter their brain chemistry, and it does change the way that they respond to oxytocin, the bonding hormone. It fries their dopamine and it ruins their ability to pair bond. I don't think there's any such thing as being healed. Like, your body count can only go in two directions, either sideways or upwards. And it's not just that they've made this mistake once. It is a repeated, consistent thing spanning several years. Because I want to distinguish something. We've been talking about high body counts. A body count of 3 is not a high body count. A body count of 4 isn't a high body count. When we say high body count, that means women who are the minimum in double digits. We're talking 20, 30, 40. This isn't one mistake. This is 40 errors back to back on different occasions where they've consistently made that choice. That's their decision, and they should take accountability and ownership for that. So, you understand where I'm getting with this.
Yes, I understand, but I think that if this destroys the woman's chemistry, it may destroy the man's chemistry too. So I don't know why it doesn't matter the same in both sexes.
Okay, to give some credit, like, I do, buy that argument a little. I'm not one of these red pill copers on the stream who thinks that a guy can just go with 700 different women and he's still going to be just as cut out for a relationship as if he, had married the first woman that he ever went with. I do think that there is some nuance here where men, they can ruin their pair bonding a little bit as well as just like women can. But the level that they do it isn't as severe. So as a woman, if she has a high body count, her pair bonding is pretty much like in tatters. There's no recovery from that. But as for a man, he's gonna have that effect happen too, but nowhere near to the same degree. Like, if two people, a man and a woman, both have a body count of 10, then they are miles different. Like, the woman is going to find it very difficult to pair bond if she's in that situation. But the man, he might find it a little bit more difficult too, compared to if his partner count was only like 2 or 3. But he's still going to be cut out, provided he has the right mindset for a relationship still. That's my take on that.
I don't know if this is a fact that is studied, but I think that it depends also on how the person perceives this intercourse. It depends on how much importance you give to each intercourse, and how you personally pair bond. If you're a sensitive person, it might cause you way more damage than if you're just there for the lust, for example.
Okay, yeah, I do have something to respond to that. I'm just going to let the next guest know that I'm going to give him a 2-minute warning. So, Sharky-enko, get ready to join the stream now. Not now, in 2 minutes, sorry. In 2 minutes, okay. And to respond to what you said, there is some science behind this. To give what the science says, when either a man or woman has intercourse, then it releases oxytocin. But the amount of oxytocin released, which is the bonding hormone, is 3 times higher in women than it is men. So if a woman has a high body count, it's completely different to when a man does, because bearing in mind that there's 3 times as much of this pair bonding hormone produced when a woman does it compared to a man, then her the impact on her pair bonding is going to be significantly greater, like, reduced, worse compared to a man who does the same thing.
Okay, maybe if this is true, I think people should give the opportunity to women to heal, and this would make the society better in many ways. I think in this way we could set aside this harmful habit for everyone if we give people the opportunity to heal and to grow as a person and not judge just based on the studies that might be true, but don't define someone's way to act in the relationship.
Okay, yeah. I've heard your argument. Okay. I think that we've covered pretty much everything that we wanted to in the pre-screening consultation, so we'll move on to our next guest now. So,
Okay. Thank you.
why is his name coming up? Sharky Yenko, if you're ready to join the debate room whenever you're ready. Okay. Miriam, thanks for coming on. It's been great having you.
Bye.
All right. Okay. The debate room is empty now, so Sharky Yenko, if you're able to join whenever you're ready. Join now if you're watching the stream. Okay, here we go.
Alright, I'm
Hello?
I can also turn on my camera, I think. Yeah, hell yeah.
Okay, awesome. It's great to have you showing your face on the stream. Yeah, so
You shirts, I'm doing laundry.
yeah, okay, no problem. I haven't got my notes page open. Actually, wait, no, I've got it on my phone.
Yeah,
Just so
I
could
can just say
introduce.
it.
Okay,
You
go
want?
ahead, yeah. Oh yeah, it's the beauty is subjective thing, isn't it?
Yeah. So it was. I have the thing that I want to talk about up on Google Drive. There it is. So yeah, the main thing that I want to talk about is how I feel like physical attractiveness is a lot less objective than you often make it out to be, and you kind of ignore the importance of preference and also presentation being a huge part of how physically attractive people find each other. And then I also wanted to talk about some of how some of the problems you bring up are valid, but I feel like people like you kind of make it worse rather than better. I feel like a lot of the issues that you talk about are kind of perpetuated by gender norms, and you kind of continue perpetuating them rather than like breaking them apart, which I think is better. And I also really just quickly wanted to go over like how you bring up and talk about statistics and how I think it's just like often wrong and kind of misleading.
Okay, we'll break down those topics one by one. So let's just start with the beauty.
You mind if we start the statistics one really quick, because it has to do with like the last conversation too that you had?
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So I actually had another example of how I think that you kind of like look at statistics badly. But one of the things that you brought up in your last conversation about like the last conversation was about whether body count matters or not, was that you said that people who have sex, like a lot of sex before marriage, are more likely to divorce. You brought that up. And while that's true, there's plenty of studies that show that. That kind of shows like what I mean by like you often use statistics wrong. Ward, do you know what sampling bias is?
Sampling bias. I'm
Yes.
guessing that's synonymous with selection bias.
It's pretty similar. It's where if the group of people you select to study are more likely to already be doing something, it kind of ruins your data. Now, the divorce thing is kind of sampling bias, not on the part of the researchers, but on the groups of people that they're researching, where people who are more likely to people who have more sex before marriage are more likely to be more progressive, and because of that are more likely to be willing to divorce someone when the relationship isn't going well. So it shows less information about like sex means that your relationships don't last as well. Rather, it shows that you're probably less conservative, less religious, more progressive, and more willing to get divorced.
Well, okay, I understand what you're saying. I think they kind of go hand in hand, though. Like, your beliefs about sex and promiscuity, like, that's a significant part of a person's identity and political standings. Because on the far right, you've got people that, like, really believe in the family system, marriage, and, kids and everything like that. Then you've got, like, the hardcore progressives, the leftists, who think, screw all of that. Like, let's just have fun. Let's just go crazy. So, I think they go hand in hand to a large degree.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but you're using it more as an example to show why it ruins your ability to pair bond rather than using it as a reason to, like, weed out the people that you don't want to date. And I don't think that the way you use the data is accurate to what it's, like, saying.
Well, I think that there is, you're never going to have a study where it's just like one factor leads to the causation of another, and it's the only factor. Like, I do believe, at least based on the science as well, that the pair bonding argument I made at least has some correlation, related to the chance of divorce because of high body counts. Whether it's 0.5, whether it's a 0.2 correlation, there's still a correlation there. Politics, as you just mentioned, might be a correlation as well. That might be 0.5, might be 0.2. There's, no way to actually distinguish that based on the data we currently have. But either way, what I think the conclusion we can draw from this is that if you're a guy looking to protect yourself in the dating market, you don't want to end up in a divorce and lose half your assets, then the way you protect yourself is either one, like not doing it or getting a prenup beforehand, and two is the way you vet the women that you're choosing to date. You're building this mind map of thinking, right, these are all of the factors, these are all of the warning signs, yellow flags, red flags. These increase the likelihood that a woman is end up going to divorce me. One of those factors, as we just established, is their political standings. If they're left, then they're probably going to have a higher chance of divorcing you. The second one, as we've also just established, is body count. If they've got a high body count, then they've also got a higher chance of divorcing you. So you want to, build this mind map. It's not to say there's one factor that trumps them all. They're all relevant, and we got to think about finding the right woman based on all of these different factors.
Yeah, I have another example that if we have time, I can bring it up. But it was more just like my issue of how you sometimes ignore biases when you bring up data, which you do a lot. And it feels like it doesn't give the whole picture of what you're showing.
Okay.
But we can move on to the other thing.
Yeah, we can move on to the other thing. Like, if I just have to give a quick 20-second response to that. Like, it is difficult in a 15-minute YouTube video to explore an entire study when there's literally hundreds and hundreds of pages. So, I'm here to just provide the bare bones. You're going to have some bias. I provide the link in the description of most studies there in the bottom of the video. If people don't like the video and they want to find out the real study, then the study's there. They can look at the study, and if they disagree with what I've said, then the study is there. But 99.9% of people don't have the dopamine tolerance to do that, because most people alive today, their attention span is 5 seconds before they need another dopamine hit, and that's where YouTube comes in to save the day, because it brings conciseness. Okay, anyway, we'll move on to the next point now. So the main thing you wanted to discuss was beauty being subjective, right?
Yeah. If you want to start, I'll start, whatever.
Yeah, you go ahead. Just explain what your main point of view is on that.
So I think it's often one a good example of this is it feels like the people that you depict as the top 1% of like the Chads or the Giga Chads are often not the types of people that I would even say that the average woman finds most attractive. Where I think that it's really hard to say what the average woman finds most attractive because it's so broad. If you look at like celebrities that get simped over, I know they're celebrities, so that's why they get simped over, but the ones that I see having some of the most like oh my god, that person's so hot from women, are celebrities like that include like Michael Cera, which is like a soft boy with no chin, or that Spencer Reed guy from Criminal Minds, which is a dorky twink, or Pete Davidson, which, no offense to Pete Davidson, looks like a crackhead a little bit. And I also see women like going for chubby masculine men with beards. I see women simp over them all the time, even though people that would be attracted to me are not attracted to them. But I've seen a woman who aren't go over them like hard, or even someone who is probably genuinely attractive, like Pedro Pascal, which is like the new person they simp over, wouldn't be like considered a Chad under your like definition. And I think that what attracts women is more varied, and also is highly dependented, not dependented, that's not a real word, is highly dependent on more stylistic choices rather than hard biological traits.
Okay, I've got two things to say. I'll be quite concise. Number one, I think most of what you just said there is anecdotal. Like, there's not actually any data behind what you just said. And I do actually have the data on this, and I've remembered it off by heart. When it comes to the objectivity of attractiveness, it's basically a bell curve. So when people have been asked to rate sub-5s, pretty much everyone unanimously agrees that they're sub-5s and they think that they're unattractive. Likewise, when it comes to the Chads and Giga Chads, pretty much everyone agrees, yeah, they're highly attractive. Like, they're really good looking. It's only when you reach the people in the middle that this is where subjectivity really comes into play. So if you're a normie guy, you're going to have a much broader distribution of the ratings that women would give you. A lot of women are going to see you as invisible, but if you're the girl's type, if you're niche max, something like that. Sorry, so somebody said something really funny in the chat. It just
I've been reading some of them.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, carrying on. Yeah, so if you're a normie in the middle, like 50% of guys, then there's going to be a lot of more subjectivity for those guys. So I think the data goes against what you said. Secondly, as for these anecdotal celebrities that you brought up, I think that's cope for the most part, because, like, let's be realistic, it is mainly their celebrity status that is making these women attracted to these guys. They're in the public eye. Their faces are shown millions of times per day. You're gonna have a handful of women that are saying that they find them attractive, but it's a celebrity status that's carrying it. What my point is that if these guys weren't celebrities and they just had average Joe, like lifestyle, then nobody would be blinking an eye to them. Like, especially guys like that Michael Cera guy. He's a 4 max in terms of SMV. If he was not a celebrity, he'd be just like the rest of us, getting 0 matches on dating apps. Like that, you can't deny that.
So I know those were anecdotes. I felt like bringing up anecdotes were important. I mean, it's not just like a handful of people are attracted to these people. The reason that celebrities are the people that are simped up over are, like you said, because they're in the public eye. But I see specific people on dating apps, for example, saying they want someone like Michael Cera, and you might say that's cope. But there's people who go for these people, and I see people that are like Michael Cera dating hot women. And you've made arguments where there must be like some downside to it, but I don't see it. And to your point on your data, that's another thing that I am kind of talking about, where when you go up to someone and ask them, show them a picture of someone and say, how attractive is this person? You're not asking them, how much do you want to sleep with this person, or how much do you want to date with this person? You're asking them how attractive they are, which means that people will normally rate them on what is socially considered to be attractive, like what is considered to be attractive by the majority of people. And because of those beauty standards, because of like beauty standards in our world, they're going to judge those peoples on the beauty standards that they know, rather than what they find attractive themselves. And I agree, those beauty standards definitely impact people, where the fact that they actually they find those things attractive too, because that's what that's why beauty standards are created. That's to express like what people want, and it influences people too. But I feel like that's another example where it's not asking them how much do I want to date this person, rather how attractive are they.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I think it is like difficult, you know, to know how legitimate these people are, you know, being. You know, it is still mostly anecdotal. Like, you know, when we look at these celebrity statistics, like, I'm gonna use this point in, I think, one of the next guys that we have coming up, who, like, I have a similar issue with his argument, which is that when you look at celebrities and things like this, we're literally talking about the top 1% of, you know, like any, like, of a point. And when you look at the top 1%, no matter what variable you're trying to figure out whether it's relevant or not, it's gonna have all sorts of biases like in it. Like, it's not a reliable method of like knowing how important something is. Like, I think the guy that I've got coming up on the stream next, he's going to talk about how, like, top status guys, status is so important, bro, because look at Lionel Messi, look at Ronaldo, stuff like this, when they're, you know, literally in the top 1%. So, you know, of course they're going to get success. It doesn't matter, you know, what other attributes that they have. It doesn't prove that status trumps looks, because 99% of people will never reach that level of status. And I think it's a similar degree, you know, it's the same point of, you know, what you're talking about, that when it comes to, you know, these top 1% celebrities who have women simping over them, it doesn't matter what the guy looks like. Every single celebrity is going to have a lot of simps. And what's interesting is that when you look at the better looking ones, they have more of said simps. And when I'm talking about simps, I'm talking about like women simping over them. Look at Harry Styles. He's probably got the most female simps chasing him. As for Michael Cera, you know, you bring up, okay, he's going to have some, but they're way far and few between compared to Harry Styles.
Harry Styles is one of those examples where, yeah, he has like a near perfect face. He's a very symmetrical face, the features that you talk about. But I feel like he has so many followers and simps from women, not because, well, of course, it's partially because he has a near perfect face, but also because of how he presents himself. I think that's what makes him probably get more dedicated women simping for him than someone that doesn't have a unique enough aesthetic that attracts a certain type of person. And those examples were less to bring up, oh, look, there are people who that look like this, that can get that attraction. It was rather to show that to initially introduce the fact that people can be attracted to this type of person, not because of their status, but because they match that type of person. But to move away from celebrities too. I mean, I have my personal experience. I mean, I have the comments here just constantly roasting me. That's why I've been smiling or laughing.
I think I jumped on that
because I've been looking at those. Some of them are pretty good. Some of them are straight up pretty good.
I think it's that you picked the wrong vest to wear for this.
Oh yeah, it's the shirt. I no other shirts because I'm doing my laundry right now. But,
you should own it. That sounds like the biggest cop out. You definitely picked out that
I should
vest.
own it. You're right. I'm telling the truth though. I am telling the truth. I do wear this shirt. I own this shirt for a reason. I do wear this out. But the reason why I'm wearing it now is because I have no laundry. Oh. I'll own it in public, but not on stream.
So you don't care about the bees, really? You only care about your self-image. You're not wearing it because you actually care about the bees.
I wear it because I think I just like the cut of it. If it didn't have the Save the Bees, I'd still wear it. I just like how it looks. But my own personal experience is when I was young adult. I'm still a young adult, but I'm not like a young adult anymore. I got a lot less attention from women. Even though I had the same facial features, I still looked like a scrawny twig. And leaning into my own personality, which developed my own style, it's like what you say, niche maxing, where I'm more attracted attractive to certain types of people because they're attracted to my aesthetic rather than just my biological or facial features. Where I have the same facial features, I have the same body, but I get way more attention now simply because I'm willing to kind of be myself and willing to what you call niche max. And my presentation is so important to the attention that I do get.
Yeah, without being too blue-pilled on the phrase, just be yourself. Like, I do think that niche maxing does have its place, and it's absolutely an effective strategy to use. Just before I continue, I'm going to let the next guest know, give him a 2-minute warning quickly. See low, you'll be ready, get ready in the next couple minutes. Right, yeah, so see, there we go, I've sent the message in the chat. So niche maxing absolutely does have its place, and for a man like yourself, I do think that there is going to be a very small percentage of women that do find you attractive, and you're not like terrible looking. I would say you're average in terms of SMV.
I know I'm not like terrible.
Yeah, you're not like a
don't
Giga
have
Chad
like
either.
or anything.
But like
yeah.
As much as you're getting roasted in the comments, I think that you have made a reasonably wise decision with maybe like the long hair, like the tattoos. Like these are all niche maxing factors, and the point is that beforehand, you might have had like 100% of women all just seeing you as an average guy, nothing special, friend zone material. But now you've niche maxed, there might be like 1% of women who see you as a 7 or 8 because you're exactly their type, but 99% of women like wouldn't even consider you as an option. But in my opinion, the whole purpose of niche maxing, that's better than being friend zoned by 100% of women. So I would commend you for that.
Okay. Yeah, and if we don't have time, we couldn't get to the last topic. That's fine. Do you think we have time or no?
Just give me like a quick 5-second.
It was mostly that I feel like how you advocate does. I feel like a lot of the issues are caused by gender norms and rather than just like women, I guess. And I feel like what you do kind of enforces gender norms, so it makes it worse.
I think we'll save this for another time. We've already had a couple good points.
I do have one last question for you. That's not related to that. It's just a question. Do you think that men and women can be friends? Just platonic friends without like any issues of like one person wanting to sleep with other, even if they'd be willing to sleep with other person, but they're like, whatever, I don't care if I don't. Do you think that men and women can just be regular friends?
I'd say only if they're like both sub 5s. Or more if the woman is a sub 5, then yeah, because you got to bear in mind that men pursue women. Women don't pursue men, or like at least not to the same degree. So if you got a sub 5 woman and like a normie man, then fair enough, they can be friends because the man's not going to be constantly pestering her and pursuing her. But if you've got like a sub 5 guy and average woman, it's debatable in itself whether the woman would even want that sub 5 guy as a friend, but let's say that she does, then it's almost guaranteed that he's going to be constantly barking up that tree and trying to get her for something more. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's my take on it, that the only time that men and women can be friends is if the man has zero sexual interest in the woman, but not the other way around.
I personally disagree, because I think you can be friends with someone while having sexual interest, but not really caring if it goes anywhere. I think that can happen.
Yeah, friends
but then
with benefits then.
Well, no, you're not sleeping with each other. Just like, oh, I have a friend that you find attractive. Like, oh, if they wanted to, I guess I would. But like, I'm not like down that they won't. But then my follow-up question, well, what about like a guy in a relationship? Let's just say you have a normie guy in a normal relationship, friends with a normie girl. Do you think that's possible?
Well, no. Based on like men's desperation and the current market dynamics, there's like a 99.9% chance that the man will be interested in the woman because he has zero options, so he's gonna be pursuing that normie woman.
Even if he's already dating another normie?
Ooh, that's a bit of a different story, I would say.
That was the question. Like, if you have a normie man and a normie woman dating, and then there's another person who's friends with a normie man who's a normie girl.
Yeah, I would say in that situation, chances are the man probably, like at the very least has attraction for his normie friend, even though he's already in a relationship. but it's up to his value system for whether he would actually push those boundaries or not.
All right. Well, I enjoyed talking to you. I mean, I think we just disagree a little bit on the fluidity of relationships. I feel like you believe it's more like all like a math equation. Well, I think it's a little bit more complex than that. But
Okay.
yeah, it was nice talking to you.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm glad that we were able to like squeeze 3 topics in. For you as a guest, it's like really good. We, really had a broad range. Okay, thanks for coming on. You're welcome to leave
Awesome.
the
Have a good
room
night.
now. CeeLo, get ready to join now.
How do I leave the room? Let's see.
I can kick you. Oh, there we go. You've left anyway. CeeLo, get ready to join now.
Hello?
Oh, you've already joined. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Great. Welcome to the stream. So, I remember you wanted to discuss, what was it, status and one other thing. What was the other thing? It was aura. Wasn't it, you
Status
said?
and aura, yeah.
Status and aura are more important than looks. For
I
men's dating.
say they cause the strongest part of the desire. That's
Right.
my take.
Okay, fair enough. So, what's your basis for that?
Yeah, so I just want to make something real clear that we didn't get through in our first little talk or whatever. I'm talking about like desire, right? I'm not talking about like long-term marriage and all this shit like that, because we all know like a girl will date a rich goofball and then go like fuck the hot dude, right? It happens all the time, right? So I'm just talking like strictly like desire, not like anything long-term. But basically what I'm getting at is looks matter to a certain threshold, but then your aura and your status basically make up the strongest part of the desire, right? And let me kind of touch on what the aura...
So we understand your point, but what's your actual evidence? What proof?
I'm about to get to that. I'm about to get to that. Right, your aura, kind of takes. Like, I just want to explain what aura means real quick to the people that don't like get it. Some people call it like vibe, personality, whatever the hell you want to call it. Like, say like there's like some scrawny twig dude, right? He's a joker. Nobody really takes him serious. Versus some dude's like 225 pounds, face tattoos, and doesn't talk at all. The vibe is going to be radically different when those two walk in the room, if you get what I mean. That's just kind of like touching on what that means for people who don't understand it. And then I think it's like 70-30, which is I think where we differ. I think status and aura make up 70% of it, and then 30% is the looks. Because I don't believe that most people are genetically walking around at a 1, 2, and a 3, right? Like, unless they are on drugs or overweight or has some accident, most people aren't walking around like that fucking ugly, right? Basically, what I'm getting at, I guess my main, I got a couple examples, but I'll start with the one where I heard that you actually touched on, right? You used the term choosing signals in the last debate and shit, right?
Yeah, choosing signals.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you know, that's a pimp term, homie. I don't know, like, that's quite literally what that means. The internet's kind of skewed that up a little bit, but that choosing signals, that quite literally means a girl choosing a pimp on his status, right? That's what that means. Now the internet might kind of conflate it to, oh, he's hot, she's biting her lip and keeps looking at him. That's not actually what choosing up and choosing signals mean, right?
Why is this relevant? Why is this relevant?
No, that's what I'm getting at, right? You're talking about looks, but when you look at like a pimp, right, or like a movie star or whatever, right, the girls are picking the dude based on all these other girls around him. They're picking the dude because he's got these beautiful women. They're doing good. They're looking healthy, whatever the case. And she's thinking, wow, I want to be with that dude because he's just that guy, right? She's not looking at his looks completely. She's more focused on, the status aspect of it, how much he can do. He's the pack leader, right? Because evolutionarily, girls go after dudes who already got girls because it shows that he can, he's just that guy. He can provide whatever the case is, right? So that's kind of the main gist of it, is that status creates the strongest desire more than looks or, any of that.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. I'm just gonna give you one more chance to, provide some evidence, some actual data and facts. No, just give me 2 seconds. But I'm gonna give the next guest their 2-minute warning now. But I'm gonna give you one more chance to give some concrete evidence, because as somebody I've just glanced over at the chat has just brought up that, similar to the last guest, you've kind of just brought a bunch of anecdotal evidence, and you're bringing beliefs and feelings and the way that you see the world into the discussion. I want to stick to the facts, so I'm going to give you one more opportunity before I get on with the next guest, because so far all you've really done is just bring a bunch of anecdotes, which we don't need any of on this debate.
Well, I mean, what's it called? You can look it up. It goes status, money, which I think is a little bit more irrelevant, and then they got looks at like 15%, right? When you look at a dude, what do you let me just ask you real quick? What do you think a girl is picking a dude based off of, right? Obviously, looks are in there, but what do you think that genuine, strong desire is with?
It doesn't matter. Can you give me some evidence? Give me some actual data or facts. Bring a study. Bring some numbers. Bring some figures to me.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear some anecdotes.
Yeah, but like this is my thing. Can you really just give me like a 2-minute anecdotal argument, right? Of like what you know what I'm saying, of like what you think looks matter. I'm not saying looks don't matter, but I'm just saying, why do looks to you, right? If you could give me, an anecdotal thing or whatever, why are they more important than a status?
I don't need anecdotes to try and prove that
that's what I'm asking,
looks matters. I think it's much better. It's superior if I bring studies and data, Tinder experiments, things like that to show that looks matters way more.
But that's not the real world, is what I'm getting at. That's not the real world.
That's always a quote. That's always a quote when people say that.
But look at Tinder. Even let's look at Tinder, right? Let's look at that Tinder swindler, right? He's a good-looking dude and all that, but he didn't get those girls to pull out 9 fucking loans because he was good-looking. He got them to pull him out because he had the private jets, he had the money, he had this. He made up some lie that he was like a prince's son or some shit like that, and he's got him running around thinking that he's being chased, and he's just got this like crazy aura about him, right? That's why them girls were pulling out those 9 loans, right? When they saw that he had the private jet in his picture and all that shit. That's why they're picking him. They didn't pick him because he had this, 7 out of 10 face. They're picking him because there's aura around him, what makes him attractive. Same thing with Jeremy Meeks, right? Let's look at Jeremy Meeks. He obviously he's a good looking dude, but he ain't.
Yeah, he's top 1% Giga Chad.
Right.
Women were sending him letters because of his looks, not because of his status. For the other 900 million sub-5s in jail rotting, who are unattractive, they're not getting women simping over them. It's only Jeremy Meeks. You're proving me, not your own argument.
No. I'd even say he's 0.01%, right? But here's the thing. There's 1,000 other dudes on Instagram that look like Jeremy Meeks. The thing is that he got all that status or whatever because he's the quote-unquote hot felon. It's not because he just looks that good. It's because he's the hot felon. He's got that aura around him. He's the bad boy, or whatever you want to call it. And then when he ended up getting famous, he ended up going viral, right? All these girls are reposting him. He's on. Let me fix my point. All these girls are reposting him. He's even on the news. Even the news anchor, they pull up his picture. She's like, "Oh my God!" Right? They're not. It's creating this snowball effect of status, which is creating this snowball effect of desire. When he got out, he started dating like some billionaire's daughter. That girl could pick anybody she wants, right? She's a billionaire. She could have went and picked any broke model she wanted out of one of these magazines or Instagram, but she picked him because he's the hot fella. Right. He's got EBK tatted on his stomach. He's got this, all the other girls.
Okay, right. I'm gonna stop you there. I think we're done here. Okay. I like what you brought to the table. It's been good to hear a different point of view, but I think we're done with this debate here.
Yeah, but let me just kind of hear what you think of that.
You've had enough to say, okay? We've got other guests to get on. We've got another couple more guests, and this stream has already been on for almost 2.5 hours, so we want to get on with the next.
I don't think you can go back with what I said.
Listen to what you said. We've given you your opportunity to speak. You've had 10 minutes. You've been speaking more than me, so you've had your opportunity. You've gave several examples. I gave you one more chance, so we're going to say goodbye. We've had don't make a mess of it now. We've been respectful for you.
But I respect it. I get it, but I'm just saying you haven't actually brought anything else to me, right? Whereas you're showing me Tinder experiments and shit that,
this
right?
This is my debate. You're supposed to be bringing the debate to me. You're supposed to provide evidence. Right, I can evaluate that. I can give my opinion. I don't need to give anything to you.
Well, we can look it up. The top thing is status, right? On the graph chart, right? They got the status in yellow, the money in red, whatever, and then looks are more towards the bottom part, which we can.
You're just repeating yourself now. Okay.
Studies.
Right, we're going to say goodbye now. So,
all right, bro.
Midnight, get ready to join. All right, CeeLo, we'll see you later.
All right, bro. Have a good one.
Okay, right. See you. Okay. Midnight. Get ready to join now. I'll just give one more point. Oh, Midnight, quickly turn off your sound. And also, don't be like the last guy and break the rules. I specifically said in the rules before the stream, no swearing. Yeah, just say one more point on that last guy. What I found hilarious about what he said towards the end, or like halfway through, because he ended up driveling so much, when was already trying to get onto the next guest, is his example of Jeremy Meeks literally proved my argument, not his own. And it's almost exactly like the meme that you see in so many Blackpill circles where they say, your confidence is your looks, your status is your looks. That's what he proved in his example of Jeremy Meeks. Jeremy Meeks only has status because of his looks. His looks is his status in that case. So he didn't prove anything to back up his own argument. His argument only supported what we've been saying on this channel, that looks is the groundwork for building upon everything else. That's what's going to give you status. It increases your chance of getting status if you're already good looking. But anyway, we're gonna open up the floor to Midnight now. You've turned off your microphone. You shouldn't do that. Turn on your microphone, but turn off the stream.
It's on toggle, mate.
Turn off the stream, or put your headphones in.
Is there a problem with using toggle? Just wondering.
Well, you can, but you might forget. It might just be easier for you to.
I use Discord heaps. It's alright.
I can still hear my voice in the background when you turn your microphone on, so it's going to be problematic. Either put headphones in or turn off the stream, whichever it is.
Maybe skip to the next guy, and I'll just plug some headphones in, because yeah, that's alright.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe I should have let you know this before the stream, because we should have been able to predict that if I'm talking and you've got loudspeakers on, then you're gonna have some echo, which isn't ideal. So you sort that out unless you're able to fix it now. But as for now, we're gonna get the next guest in. Felix, get ready to join if you're ready and watching. Felix, get ready to join now. You're free now. Your slot has been moved forward, so Felix, whenever you're ready, join the stream. Okay. Yep. I've got confirmation from him. Just click on the debate room. You should be able to join. It's an open voice channel. Hello?
Hello, can you hear me? Is everything all right?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Ah, nice.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so we'll get straight into it then. What sort of topics do you have for me today?
Well, I have some slight critique of the Blackpill in general, and I've brought a PowerPoint presentation.
Okay, you're more than welcome to... Oh yeah, I do remember now, yeah. Just bring it up straight away, fly through the PowerPoint. I remember you explained it a little bit slowly in the pre-screening consultation, so be a little bit more in depth with it.
Yeah, I've kind of sped it up.
Okay, perfect.
Just give me a second. Pulling up the...
There should be a button at the bottom of the screen on Discord.
Yep.
You should already have permission to share your screen.
Give me a sec.
Right.
There it is. Now, tell me if you can see that.
Yeah, I can see it. There's a picture of some skinny guy on the screen, and that says why even the blue pill. Why even the blue pill has some truth to it. Oh, this will be interesting. So we got a guy who is advocating for the blue pill. Let's hear what you have to say.
Let's say I acknowledge the blue pill rather than advocating for it entirely.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
The presentation is called Why Even the Blue Pill Has Some Truth to It. And we'll get right ahead with an example, or rather an analogy. So let's say Lil Jimmy joins the gym, and he's like, I want to be the next Mr. Olympia. So he asked the 3 biggest guys there what their opinions are on how to get big or how to get the next Mr. Olympia. Now we got the first one. right here, and he's like, it's all about the hard work that you put in the gym. Go all out, put your mind to the sets, and go to failure. Next guy, he's like, yeah, well, the first one, he's just talking rubbish. It's all about the right steroids and compounds that you need to use. Those are what makes you really big. The third one, on the other hand, he's like, both of them are talking trash. It's mainly about your genetics. Genetics are the most important factor. Now, for anyone that's ever been to the gym or ever been a part of the lifting community, you will know that you need to bring all the three to the table. Otherwise, there's just no chance that you make it far in professional bodybuilding. Now,
Right.
Analogous to that, there are the 3 pills. The blue pill, I've just taken your definition of the 3 pills. The blue pill, which says just be kind and thoughtful. The red pill, which is like just be confident. And the black pill, which obviously says just be tall and handsome. All pretty logical and truthful conclusions about the 3 pills. I think it's the same thing when it comes to dating as when it comes to lifting. If you want to get girls, especially if you're interested in a relationship, you'll need to be proficient and know about all of 3 pills. If you lack the skills in even one of them completely, then you're out of the dating pool entirely. There's no chance you can get any girls. So you need to take all the 3 pills in order to really be successful. There's the thing I call minimum requirements. And if you ask any girl what she wants in a man, she's obviously like you. I think it was Pancho that mentioned it. She's obviously mentioning her dream version of a partner. Like it's this Prince Charming, ultra aura chat above anything, right? But she's gonna name traits and attributes out of all the 3 pills. Obviously, he has an insane jawline. He's 6'4", black hair, blue eyes, everything, right? He's also kind and probably drives a Lamborghini or something. However, this is usually not the kind of guy they actually end up with, and even happily so. Like I know a lot of relationships, even the one of my parents and the one of a lot of acquaintances, that really work out pretty well, even though the standards of the girl have probably been higher than, or the version of her ideal partner would have been higher than the one that she got with in the end. Therefore, I've developed a model. I call it the model of stairs. In all domains of dating, a guy can reach certain hard levels. And I think the black pill is really good at acknowledging those. Like we call the scores of looks, right? We call them from 1 to 10. Although I think differentiating them from 1 to 8 is a bit better, but let's not talk about that. And just like the steps of a flight of stairs, they have a beginning and an end point. In some cases, if you don't take a step on these stairs, you're out of the game entirely. Like, let's take an extreme example. If you don't shower, for example, then you're out of it. There's just no being saved. Women, but also humans in general, men as well, have minimum requirements, and these are prerequisites. They won't go below that. That's also a thing the black pill mentions with their sub-5 looks. And they vary from person to person. Like some girls, we see that a lot in those street interviews. Sneeko did a lot of them. What do you think your guy should be able to make a year for you to be happy? And they say some outrageous number. Although I don't know if that's a prerequisite of them, if the right guy comes around, there is a cap of how much he should make to have a sustainable lifestyle, I think, that needs to be met. Otherwise, it won't work out. The blue pill has its own flight of stairs. Character compatibility is often mentioned. Blue-pilled confidence, like be confident in yourself or be confident in what you do. It often talks about similar interests, and stuff like openness to new experiences, right? You need to meet more people. There's a lot of fish in the sea.
Right. I think we know what's coming. Yeah. So then on Red Pill, it's going to be a flight of stairs. It's going to say money status, gym maxing, everything like that.
Black Pill, I think everyone should know it. Know what's
like that. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
I think I understand where you're going with this. So, is your overarching point going to be that you need all three sides of the coin? That you shouldn't just like be ideologically tied to one point. You need to have all three intertwined in order to be successful in dating. Actually, now we've just seen this slide, I think we can explore a little bit more in depth about the thing you've been talking about. Because to be honest, most of what you said so far, I thought it was going to like go to somewhere and be quite intriguing, but I think a lot of us already know the stuff that you've already talked about, that for a long-term relationship to work, of course you're going to need all three: the black pill, the red pill, and the blue pill. But this slide looks a little bit more interesting. So by the seams of it, you've got three different approaching environments where different things are relevant based off of the three different pills. And
this is what I think is the case,
okay.
right?
Yeah, just like I've just said, real life, warm approach, long-term relationship, stuff like that, you're going to need all three of them maxed out. For nightclubs, you've put red pill at the top, which is interesting because I thought the black would be as high, if not higher. And for online dating, of course, black pill, is by far the most relevant, and I would agree with that. The only thing that I would disagree with here, because this is a debate and we do, want to have disagreements. That's the whole point of this live stream. Let's fixate on the nightclubs thing. Why have you put red as higher than black for that?
I think I put red a bit too high, but actually red is the highest in that case.
How come?
I think the red pill requirements of a game as well as money play a huge role, or rather status, play a huge role in the nightclub game.
Oh no.
The black pill.
No way.
The black pill is still higher than the blue pill, though. I think when the minimum looks requirements, that is like a 7 or an 8 out of 10, are met, then the black pill is what decides if you actually get the girl you want or not.
Okay, I disagree with what you've just said there. Nightclubs.
Right.
I don't know what nightclubs you're going to. Maybe you're talking about like top 1% nightclubs where you have to pay $100 entry fee just to get in, and you need to show up with 2-3 women, and then the high status celebrity guy or whatever, is able to clean up. But if we take nightclubs in the context of what I would presume most of my audience members is thinking of, nightclubs where you just pay your £5 entry, $10 entry, whatever it might be, and they're blasting out music at 100 decibels, the lights are flashing, and everyone's drunk, and the place closes at 4 a.m. They're the kind of nightclubs that I am thinking of from the English nightclub scene, and I'm guessing from most of Europe and America as well. In these scenarios, if we presume that this is what we're talking about when we're talking about nightclubs, black pill, I would argue, is by far the most important. Height and face are overplayed, particularly height. Like, even face can be, debated on of how important it is for nightclubs because the lighting is low, people are drunk. I've seen low tier normies who are 6'5" with a big frame clean up in nightclubs, even though in real life they would probably be rejected by women, or on dating apps they'd probably be rejected because their face is unattractive. But provided you're tall and you tower over people, you're gonna get attention in nightclubs, and that is all black pill. Red pill, I don't see how that relates to nightclubs because the music is so loud, you can't even talk. How are you supposed to employ red pill game in a nightclub when you can't even speak to a woman? Like, okay, fair enough, red pill game might be important for when it comes to like arranging the logistics, like having a plan of how you're gonna get the woman in bed, stuff like that. But as for just going to the nightclub, making out with random chicks on the floor, if you're 6'4" Chad, you're not going to have any issues. You're not going to have any issues because women are going to be like tapping on your shoulder, trying to get your attention because you have that much of a presence in a nightclub.
I believe that is somewhat correct. Definitely a way higher look than anyone else there. It gives you kind of an halo, right? I think we can agree on that.
Yeah.
But
okay, so
if
what's your
game,
basis for why status or game, whatever red pill metrics you think are relevant in a nightclub?
Now we need to base this off the things I said earlier. It's the stairwell model, right? So basically, if you don't meet the minimum requirement of game, if you're just sitting in the corner, not talking to anyone, you're probably not gonna get chicks. And the other thing that I've noticed in nightclubs, more often than not, the guys that are money maxed or status maxed, that come around now typically in Germany, I don't know how it is in Britain, but there's this stereotypical jock kind of guy, and he's driving to the nightclub in a rented Mercedes AMG, and that gets a lot of looks and impressions, and usually that gets a lot of impressionable mid-tier beckies.
Oh, that's got no relevance in the UK. Maybe it is different in Germany.
Really
but
not.
In the UK,
Damn.
Literally your car that you show up in has no relevance whatsoever, because people aren't paying attention to the way that people are getting to the club. Like, the way it works in the UK is that you get to the club by whichever means. It doesn't matter. It's not got relevance. It's when you get into the club, that's what people are actually interested in. Like, there's no, massive thing outside, like, crowd of people who are watching cars show up to see who just showed up in the Uber and who showed up in the Mercedes or the Bugatti. Like, that doesn't happen. It's everyone in the UK nightclub scene just gets a taxi or Uber down there, and then they start queuing up in the freezing cold and rain, and then they go in, and then that's when the party starts.
Then let me rephrase it a bit. Maybe we can discuss on that basis more. Let's say you have one guy and he's pretty money maxed. He shows up like, let's say he shows up like Andrew Tate. He has a Rolex. He has some golden chains around him. Maybe wearing a shirt by Gucci or something. Well, he's gonna get a lot of women with higher status impressionability.
No, I just don't see that playing out. Like, in nightclubs that I've seen, there's been some 5'7" man look guy wearing some Armani t-shirt or whatever, like really expensive. It doesn't make any difference, because the fact he's a low tier normie, below average height guy, women don't care that his entire outfit and attire has cost 3k plus. Women don't care about that stuff.
But
in
he
a nightclub.
falls under the threshold, right?
Like the guy turning up, the Giga Chad in the £5 Primark t-shirt, which is muscle fit, is doing infinitely better than the guy in the Armani t-shirt, which costs a lot more.
But in that case, his looks are his game.
Yeah, that's how it is, and
so
that's black pill.
I think you're
doing the same thing as the previous guest had. Like, you're trying to prove red pill by using black pill. You just said that his looks is his game. Well, that's just black pill that you're trying to disguise as red pill.
On the other hand, I think once you've met the threshold that I've mentioned, if you're not 5'7", if you're around, I don't know what the threshold might be. I believe it's 5'11", perhaps 6 feet. I think then there's the point where you need to compete by using your game. If you're not a sub-5 male, if you're not brutally height mocked by everyone else, I think then there's the time where you really need to stand out by your game. Otherwise, other people are gonna pull the girls.
Okay. I think this is getting a little bit...
That's what I was trying to get at.
Okay, yeah, I understand. I think this is getting a little bit circular now, and we've, touched on most of the points being made. And I want to keep the stream under 3 hours, so we're going to jump to our last guest now. I know there was 2 more guests in the queue, but I'm pretty sure the last one already had featured on the last stream, so that's why I put him at the bottom of the queue, just because he already had a opportunity. So, George, there's probably not going to be time for you. Like, I remember in the pre-screening consultation, you did have a lot of things to talk about, so there's probably not going to be a chance for you to get on this time, just because I want to keep the stream under 3 hours, and you did get an opportunity in the last stream. But we're going to come back to Midnight Milk Tea now. So Midnight, get ready to join whenever you're ready. And Felix, thank you for coming on. Midnight, join now. I'm just waiting for confirmation for him to say that he's ready now. Oh, here we go. Hopefully his microphone is sorted properly and he's got his headphones in. Hello?
Yeah, hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can, and there's no echo this time, so looks like it's all working.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay, so Australian bloke to finish off. It's probably very late where you are as well, or very early for that matter, I'm not entirely sure.
Actually, it's very early.
Very early in the morning.
It's alright.
Oh, okay,
it's all good.
No problem.
It's alright.
Yeah, let's get straight into it. We've got about 15 minutes, because I want to keep the stream under 3 hours, so let's ramp it up and get into your points.
Well, where did you want to start? Just down the list?
Yeah. Start off with the list. I remember you had that list that you made. There was a few interesting topics that you had. Just try and be concise with them. Get your point across.
Yeah, let's be concise. Yeah. Sure, guys. So, just some stats. I'm literally a manlet, so just keep that in mind of all my arguments. Yeah, it's over. So the first point was physical attraction is paramount dating. I don't think we really need to elaborate on that. But you don't have to be absolutely maxed out, but you should just be in shape and take basic care of yourself. I mean, I don't know if you can even argue that.
Say that point again, the point that you want to explore on.
I mean, well, I don't think you have to be maxed out.
You don't think that you have to be
you don't
maxed
have to
out?
be.
Maxed out in what departments?
Well, if we're just talking about physical looks, right?
Yeah.
Taking care of your body, taking care of your face. You don't have to be maxed out. You can just be 80% of the way there, 70% there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, fair enough. But that extra 20% will help. So why wouldn't you do that looks maxing?
Oh, you should. I mean, you shouldn't.
Okay, so what's your point?
I mean,
so
you know what I mean. Like getting 80% of the. Yeah, 80% of the way there is good enough. You know.
Yeah, it's good enough, but why wouldn't you do the 100%?
Well, it's like learning anything. The first 80% is quite easy to achieve. But the last 20%, it takes an exponential amount of effort. You should do it if you want to, and if you want to pursue it. But after that, perhaps you should just develop other traits of yourself, because, I mean, this only applies to people who aren't subhuman, right? This does. I'm sorry, but if someone is subhuman, they can't get to that level, and that's just unfortunate. I don't think there's much to argue about that. I think the next one might be a bit more controversial.
Okay, what's the next point?
Yeah, well, I don't actually think women are picky. On dating apps, yeah, they are, but it's like a supply and demand thing, and I feel as though if men were just in the swapped position, it'd be the exact same thing. And I don't know. I don't think that women are super picky. I just think the gender ratio on there is messed up. And
okay, yeah, I've heard this argument before. It's the way it goes is that like dating apps aren't real life because women just have the advantage on there. Men swipe on every girl that they see. There's 3 times as many men as women on online dating. So the fact that they're getting swamped with matches, it doesn't mean anything because they are just picking for the top 5%. Of course they would, because if they got 1,000 matches, then they're only going to pick the best ones from those. But in real life, they don't have those options. Is that the argument that you're talking about?
Right. Yeah. When like men go, "Oh, women are so picky," I don't think so. I think that.
Well, okay.
I don't know. I mean, if
we carry on with that, I do buy that argument at least a little. There is no doubt that online dating, like, it is ramped up, and the supply and demand ratios are way more skewed compared to real life, where even if we're talking about a warm approach versus cold approach, it's still 100 times better compared to just the absolute mess that you see in online dating. So women are more picky, I believe, on online dating apps. And I've even seen evidence of this in the real world, because for couples that I've seen, and in fact, there's even this other YouTuber that I watched a video from. He did an street interview video where he went around the street and asking how couples met. All of the couples that were mismatched, where the man was slightly lower SMV than the woman, they had met in real life. There were no examples where that happened from online dating, because it would never happen. Why would it happen? If a woman is on Tinder and she's a 5, why would she want to go out with a guy who's also a 5? It's just not going to happen.
Exactly.
She's going to be trying to match with the 7s and 8s and trying to secure them for dates and long-term relationships. But fair enough, for that 5 out of 10 woman, if she works at, I don't know, like, or if she goes to school with the normie guy, a 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10 guy, she might as well date him. Like, it's not going to stop her. I've seen that happen plenty of times, but it's so much more rare on online dating. So, like, I do think that there is some truth to your point. I'll just say that at the start.
Right. It's like supply demand. I think that if the roles were reversed, men would just be just as bad. It's just to negate people who go, women are so picky. On dating apps, look, guys, I've seen women's I've seen their DMs and stuff. There will be literally 100 guys. You can't speak to every single one of them. It's just impossible. All right.
Yeah.
And then, like, the next point is like, look, despite what everyone thinks, I mean, I'm a manlet. Okay, guys, I'm a freaking manlet.
Yeah.
Online is really good. Like, online has let me have access to women I would never have met in my life, right? And the problem is when you guys say, oh, everyone meets online, it doesn't just mean dating apps, right? There's plenty of avenues to meet someone online. People just don't know where to look, right? 'Cause it's not that easy. And it'd be the same as saying, hey, a club is the only way to meet a woman in real life, or, you know, McDonald's is the only place to eat. I think online is actually really good, especially if you're a manlet, because you get mugged at a club, like, hardcore.
Yeah, that makes sense. I actually agree with this as well. It still is a little bit of a barrier, and you will go on some dates with women who they don't realize how tall you are, and then when you turn up to the date, then it's hard. Like, and provided we're not talking turbo manlet, like, if you're 5'8" or 5'9", or at the very, very, very lowest, like 5'7", then you can have online dating be successful for you if you're like Chad Light Face, and you know
we're not talking online dating, just online in general.
Oh yeah, okay.
But yeah,
well, same difference basically. But if you're 5'4" and you're like a turbo Chadlet, then I don't think that online dating is going to help, because every inch you lose below average height, like, it's exponentially more significant, and it hurts you. You know, every inch you lose hurts you even more so. So if you're a turbo Chadlet, fair enough. If your height isn't openly visible on your online dating profile, you might be able to get a decent number of dates, because women are like, wow, this Chad, oh, I can't believe I'm going to get a date with him. However, once you turn up to the date as a 5'4" Chadlet, then the woman's just gonna, like, okay, she might stay for one drink, 20 minutes, drink it really, really quickly, and then flake out, like, you know, with whatever excuse she's got up her sleeve to leave early. She'll say that, like, oh, my dog has had a heart attack, whatever, you know, crap she can say. That's gonna happen, I would say, almost 100% of the time if you're a 5'4" turbo Chadlet. But if you're 5'8", you're going to be able to get a decent number of success. And I'm guessing you fall into that bucket.
So, I mean, I'll put it, I'm 5'6", so I'm 168 centimeters. And I think, okay, look, this is from my perspective as a manlet, all right? Because I don't think many people can comment on this. Well, I don't think there's many people who do date around. I do think like 5'5", 5'4" would be kind of deaf zone, but yeah, if you're like 5'8" or 5'10" and you blame your height, no, it's there's other factors of why you're not getting dates and shit. You're probably not very attractive facially, or you can't speak to women at all. Shit like that. I look, this is my opinion. I think 5'6" is pretty short, and the women I date have been between 165 to 180, and my last partner was 178 centimeters.
180 is 5'11".
Yeah.
I'm doubting the legitimacy of this. This sounds mad.
You can
5'6", dating 5'11".
Yeah. So this is a woman in Germany, so they're quite tall. And I don't mind dating between countries personally.
Wait, no, she's living in Australia.
Yeah, so she was in Germany. She's German, but I mean, Australia has a lot of people from different countries.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I've sent you a picture of myself. I don't think I look like a Chad. I think I look okay.
Was that you in the profile picture?
Well, yeah, I also DM'd you like a private, like you can just go look at it, and then you can go look at the kinds of women that I have dated or fucked or something. Sorry, my bad. Had intercourse with. I just, when you say, oh, they're gonna pop up to the date and just go, oh, you're so short, but like usually just tell them, like, why wouldn't you tell somebody like what's the point of going on a date and someone rejects you your height? Might as well just tell them.
Yeah, that's true.
But keep in mind, this is not online dating. Like, I don't use Tinder and shit. I just blind DM girls on Instagram or shit like that. My hobbies just happen to cross over with women's activities as well. So these are online spaces. I wouldn't necessarily call it online dating, but that's how you meant to meet people anyways, just doing hobbies together, right?
So it's hobby maxing.
Sort of. I mean, it's not hobby maxing if you actually enjoy the interest. And like that moves into the other point of I don't know why the manosphere, I guess, doesn't really speak about this, but having a genuine interest in like female-centric hobbies is like a huge halo. Like, okay, you can't look subhuman, of course, but if you actually have a genuine interest in anything in the arts or even cooking, dressmaking, shit like that, like you can't fake this, by the way. Like, I mean, you could if you're a psychopath, but if a woman is into you, like she'll be really into you. And I guess that's niche maxing, but this is just overall, like even yoga, right? You could just pick up yoga, and if you're genuinely interested in that,
yeah, I don't know how
it does help you.
I've heard this before as well. Like people say, "Oh, just join a salsa class, bro." There's plenty of
no.
Yeah, no, that's what people say. Like it's the argument that warm approach is superior. You have much higher opportunity there, and then just join a bunch of these female clubs, and then that's going to be an opportunity. But the two main issues I have with that, the first issue is that all of these clubs suck. Why would any man want to go to yoga or salsa? Just to me, I just have zero interest. There's a reason why men prefer rugby and football, because these are sports that are actually fun to play and watch. So, like yoga, fair enough, you're doing it for dating, but I just wouldn't be able to entertain myself and suffer long enough to get to the point where I actually start approaching the girls, because I would be bored out of my mind just going to this yoga session like 2 times a week for an hour and a half each time. I just wouldn't be able to tolerate it. And surely people would see through your teeth. This is kind of leading into the second point, is that you spend so much time jester maxing and working your way up the pyramid, and most of the women are going to know that you're only there just to pick up chicks anyway, because you're not going to have any knowledge or information about yoga or salsa. You're going to be a dunce pretty much, and any new social circle or warm environment you join, you automatically start at the bottom of the pyramid. And you have to work your way up. So you join yoga, there's going to be 20 other people there who have way more social proof than you. You've got no social proof. So the first couple months, you can't just start hitting on women straight away, because you're going to poison the well and you've got no social proof. So you're going to have to start at the bottom of the pyramid and then work your way up. I just don't buy it. I think it's a terrible thing.
I agree, but maybe yours is purely I must go here to pick up women. I said these are for people who are genuinely interested in
Yeah,
X,
fair enough.
Y, Z,
Yeah,
right?
that's the main caveat.
If you're really
genuinely
interested
interested in it, then yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so if you're genuinely interested in cooking, you don't pick it up. You pick it up over the years, and maybe you have a huge Instagram page full of like what you cook. You already get with the woman, she sees your hobbies. That's just what I mean. I don't mean you force yourself into something you hate. Like it's very obvious, right?
Yeah.
Look, let's move on. I
Before
do
you move on to the next thing, I know it's like cutting you off a little bit short, but I do want to actually be like wrapping up the stream now. But you've actually been a really good guest to finish off, so I'm more than happy to get you up on the next one. I just want to keep this stream under 3 hours, and I'm getting a little bit tired myself. But I'm going to have you on the next stream as well, if you're available. We might be repeating this, but we're going to be wrapping up now. So you still got a few things on the list. Like I just don't want this stream to go on for another 20 minutes.
Yes.
So
look, I'll just say.
Just save some of those points for next one.
Yeah, just one thing. Someone's like body count, it's like 30 to 40 women, and then I already sent Wheat the average look of these women, so like it does work, and just because most manlets fail doesn't mean all of them do, and you don't have to be rich and shit. Okay,
awesome.
Just saying.
Yeah, good thing to finish off the stream. We'll see you guys later in the next one.
Cool. Nice stream, man.